Today, an entitled Karen tried to steal my purse and even got physical and violent when I told her no, as she tried to claim that this was a purse the store was selling, even though I literally walked in with it and it had all of my personal belongings in it, resulting in this lady making a fool of herself while she got escorted off to jail. Here's what happened. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk and hit the bell to turn on notifications. Okay, so I like to go shopping, but only at places like Ross or Walmart or just like cheap retail stores. Anyways, I was shopping at Ross one day with my Juicy Couture purse that I bought from DD's about a year ago, and as I'm looking at the perfumes to see if they had the one that I'm really looking for, I see this random lady reach into my basket and grab my purse. Well, when she did this, I grabbed it immediately, but still, she tried to yank it out of my hand. So I ended up reaching back like I was gonna hit her, and once I did that, she then backed up and said, well, until you buy it, it's not yours, saying that she wants it, so I have to give it to her. But I straight up told her, look, the purse didn't come from the store. This is my purse. This has got my personal belongings in it. What you're trying to do right now is theft. Well, when I said this, she then started yelling for a manager, and once the manager came over, they tried to explain to her that this is indeed the customer's purse, and she can't just take it. And on top of that, they're not going to sell someone else's personal items. But when the manager explained this lady literally said, oh, you guys must be working together. Because according to this idiot, apparently she saw me grab it from the rack. Now, before I could even say anything, one of the cashiers chimed in and said like, hey, this lady's making up lies. They literally watched me come into the store, plus I'm a regular. And at this point, they are refusing her service, so she has to leave the store. But then she started arguing with them, saying, oh, she doesn't have to leave the store, and how apparently I assaulted her, and how they can't refuse her service because she knows that the purse isn't mine, claiming that they must be taking my side so I can buy it, even though she thinks it's not mine until I pay for it. So at this point, they told me I can continue my shopping and they will handle it from here. But as I'm walking away, she tried to grab my card. That's when I straight up told her like, look, you're looking for a fight right now, especially if you're acting entitled and just literally can't accept the fact that you're wrong. This all comes down to the fact that you're not getting what you want, and if you want to continue disturbing my peace, then that's on you, so please back up. Well, when I said that, she grabbed at her neck like someone clutching their pearls. But eventually, I was able to walk off finally, and after about 5 minutes of shopping, I decided, you know what, I'm done. And I just got in line and I was ready to check out. And guess what? When I got there, she was still arguing with the staff of the store. But at the same time as this argument, the cops were walking up, and they literally escorted her out of the building. As I'm leaving, she then starts pointing at me saying that I attacked her because, you know, I wouldn't let her have the purse, and how she apparently has the right to take an item out of my cart that hasn't been paid for that still belonged to the store. So I went over and I ended up explaining the whole thing to the officers of what happened and how she tried to take my personal item out of my cart and how I stopped her from taking my crap and that she just couldn't accept the fact that this wasn't something she could buy from the store, and how even if it was something from the store, her feeling the need to say that she could just grab stuff out of people's carts should tell you exactly how entitled and crazy she is. I also did say that I would fight her, but only if she continued to stop me from leaving, or tried to continue to like steal my belongings after numerous attempts to reason with her. Well, once I explained this, they walked off and they talked for a little bit. But to jump to the punchline, she ended up going to jail, because apparently she literally pushed the manager after he told me that I could continue shopping. The cops then asked me if I wanted to press charges for attempted theft, and you know what? I said yes, because at the end of the day, I'm tired of entitled people like this doing crap like this all the time and then having no consequences for this bull crap. Oh, and by the way, this is all over a $60 Juicy Couture purse. Like, that is crazy. And honestly, I have had a few people try and grab my purse thinking it was something I picked up in the store, but anytime that happens, I always stop them and I say, hey, actually that purse is mine. And they always apologized and said, oh, I'm so sorry, and then left. And it's like, okay, it's one thing for it to be like an honest mistake, but it's an entirely different thing when you did it on purpose and you refuse to take no for an answer, where you literally attempted to take someone's personal items and just expecting them to give in to your crazy demands. And let me tell you something, I'm glad that she didn't push me, because I would have lost any and all of my patience. But it's truly crazy how entitled people are and how crazy some people get when they are wrong, or they're told no, or just don't get their way, because this entire experience was very stressful and just so unnecessary. Oh my gosh, what a trip. This is some crazy behavior, dude. Imagine being so entitled that you really believe, oh, you haven't bought it yet, so that means I can take it out of your basket. Like, are you really that kind of person? Like, I don't think I've ever met anybody with that rationale. Because in my opinion, if it's in my cart, congratulations, it's mine to buy. Like, it is such a crappy thing to do, to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna steal stuff from your cart and there's nothing you can do about it. It's technically still the store's, so I can take it. And that in and of itself is crazy. But for her to be like, ooh, this person purse that's obviously somebody's purse? I'm gonna take that, thank you very much. Like, do you think the original poster really walked in there and said, hey, let me stuff all my personal belongings in this purse just so I can steal it? Like, what are we talking about? That doesn't make any sense. Obviously, if this lady's phone and receipts and like a pack of gum and maybe like some random trash is in this purse, then yeah, it's probably her purse. So to assume otherwise would be like, oh no, you're clearly working together with a manager. They want you to buy it so I don't get it. Like, that's some weird paranoid crap that I can't even begin to understand. And there's honestly no good excuse here. So yeah, you're not in the wrong. This lady deserved to go to jail. And the fact that she attacked the manager over this, that is insane, and there's just no good excuse. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and you too can have something interesting to listen to on the way to work. You'll have the perfect focus you need to sort through your Pokemon cards, and you'll build the greatest Lego sets the world's ever seen. And I say that because that's what Julian does all the time. And you know what? I think that's awesome. Like, it's really cool to see where you guys are and what you're doing while you're like watching or listening to these videos. And that means a lot. Seriously, thank you for watching, Julian. And please let me know in the comments of this video, if you see this, what your favorite Pokemon is. For reference, my favorite Pokemon is Umbreon and Gengar. I love those two so much. In fact, and I'm not kidding, I have a Gengar like mouse pad, like a wide mouse pad for my keyboard and my mouse, literally on my computer right now. So if you see this, Julian, please tell me what your favorite Pokemon is. I would love to see it. Also, if you yourself want to bring your stories to life and have a voice, bring them to life in a way that everybody can see it, then please go to AmITheJerk.com/submit. That's the best place to get your stories out there and for the world to see it. But without further delay, let's get back to the video and on to the next story. Would I be the jerk if I block a Facebook Marketplace buyer who already made their purchase but won't stop asking for spare parts that we might have? Because she's making a huge deal out of this one specific part that we didn't give her, that we honestly didn't have for the thing she bought. Because right now this is all getting super annoying and I honestly don't want to deal with this and I just don't know what to do. Here's what's happening. Okay, so for a bit of context, my boyfriend recently bought his dad's house so that his dad could use the sale money for his long-term care. We cleaned out the garage and sold a few items on Facebook Marketplace, and one of our listings was for 2 long pole saws, one manual and one electric. The manual one would be sold with a few replacement blades, and the power one would be sold with the charger and any parts that we could find around the garage for it. We also listed all of the saw-related items for like $50 total. Well, someone replied to the listing and said she was interested and could come by later that day to pick them up, and I thought to myself, okay, that's great. Well, she ended up being almost an hour later than she said she would be. My boyfriend and I also had to rearrange her car so that everything would fit, which was honestly no big deal because guess what? The saws are gone, so that's totally fine by us. I gave her a good review on Facebook Marketplace, and honestly, I figured that was it. Well, when she gets home, I guess her husband inspected the saws and the parts and realized that a specific part they needed was missing. She then messaged me to ask if we had it, and I really did look high and low for it just to see if maybe it was somewhere, but honestly, I couldn't find it. And so I tell her as much, and I just apologize for the inconvenience. Now, tell me why a week later, she is still asking for this saw part and is somehow upset that we didn't say that it wasn't included. I looked up the prices for everything that we gave her, by the way, and holy crap, she got a steal. Maybe they're in like a financial pinch or whatever, so I'd like to give them some grace, but I mean, come on. Messaging multiple times to ask for something I already said we don't have. So truly, would I be overreacting for blocking her and like just ignoring this lady from here on out? Because honestly, I don't know what else to do for her because she literally got a fantastic deal. Yeah, some people are just gonna act like that, dude. That is so annoying. Here you are giving her the deal of a century where it's like, yeah, all of this for $50. And the only thing she's focusing on is like, oh, I can't believe you're missing this one thing I need. It's like, dude, you are so annoying. Are you really just gonna hyper-focus on this one thing, completely ignoring the fact that, yeah, we gave you like the steal of a century? And just doing a quick Google search, like, holy crap, some of these can cost up to like $800, dude. So her messaging you repeatedly and being like, we're missing this one part, I can't believe you. Like, dude, I would block her too. Like, screw that. The deal is done. You already bought it. I'm not dealing with you anymore. So no, you're not overreacting. That's completely reasonable, and I would definitely do the same thing. Today, I had to deal with an influencer who demanded that she get a refund for a fitness plan I was selling that she claimed didn't work. But instead of giving into everything she wanted, I decided to show the community at large that this lady was crazy and incredibly toxic. And honestly, with all things considered, I don't regret doing this for a second. Here's what happened. Okay, so I run a small fitness consultancy business, and I've done it for the past few years now. And ever since setting it up, I've largely relied on word of mouth for most of my business. So thankfully, I don't have to deal with a lot of difficult clients. clients. But recently, I had a run-in with a woman who's genuinely made my blood boil. This woman, who we will call Grace for the sake of anonymity, sent me a direct message a few weeks ago saying that she was looking to lose some weight and tighten up her physique for the summer. Now, Grace didn't really fit my usual client demographic, as people are usually like in their 30s or 40s, because she was young, she was in her mid-20s, and she boasted a decent follower count. She seemed to be like a local influencer of some description, and this honestly piqued my interest. I thought, okay, perhaps I can benefit from her connections to boost my own business somewhat. But oh, how wrong I was. The initial consultation over text messaging was pretty standard. I asked her some details about her past exercise history, her diet, etc., all before getting to work on her meal and exercise plan. Then it moved to the matter of payment. I had mentioned pretty early on that I typically charge $50 for my plans, but either she didn't read that or she decided to feign willful ignorance. When I reminded her of the price, she said to me, and I quote, "I was wondering whether you'd be interested in getting yourself some exposure instead of payment." Now, I hate to say it, but at the time I was seriously thinking of taking her up on the offer. However, after talking to some of my friends, I snapped out of it, resolving to be firm with the price instead, which she accepted, albeit somewhat begrudgingly. Looking back on it now, I'm kind of stunned that she genuinely expected me to give it to her for free, but I guess that's just how the influencer economy works these days. The plan consisted of exercises and recipes mainly designed around helping her lose weight. Usually, I advise most of my clients to try and maintain light to moderate calorie deficits. Not only is this healthier overall, but they also tend to suck a lot less than dramatic calorie reductions, so they're easier to maintain in the long run. I explained all of this to her. I said that she understood it meant progress wouldn't be immediate and all this other stuff, and honestly, I really thought we were on the same page. Well, a week later, I woke up at 5 in the morning to an Instagram call from this lady. Well, being half awake, I eventually picked up the phone and was met with loud screaming. She yelled at me and said, "You are a scammer. You think this crap's some kind of joke?" Now me, still being in a daze, I just weakly asked her, "Okay, what's going on?" She then responded back by saying, "I just weighed in after a week of your bullcrap plan and I'm up half a pound." I then asked her, "Okay, can you slow down and please just breathe?" Which seemed to actually calm her down, albeit temporarily. I then explained to her that we had been through this before and that weight loss isn't a linear process and that scale measurements can be offset from anything from like water weight to clothing, even to the time of day. She then screamed at me and said, "You're just covering your butt. Cut the bullcrap right now." And I just thought to myself, oh well, I tried. I guess you can't talk sense to an unstable influencer at 5 in the morning. She then continued and screamed out, "I've got a swimwear collaboration I need to shoot this week, and you lied to me. Your plan didn't work." And just to translate this language from influencer to English, she's basically saying, I successfully got something for free, and now I need to rip into you for something I didn't get for free. Bear in mind, this girl is by no means overweight. Her body mass index was already comfortably in the healthy range, but I guess an influencer's work is never done. At this point, she's on the verge of tears, and she continues by going, "Do you know how screwed over I am? I followed your plan to the letter, and look where it got me." And based on her tone and the time of the morning that she called, she was almost definitely on the receiving end of like 4 margaritas comfortably, which definitely wasn't in the plan. But I didn't feel like pointing out the obvious because good lord, that would have made things way worse. An hour later, she messaged me, still unhinged, but slightly more coherent. The message said, "Refund me immediately," saying that she wants me to post a public statement on my page admitting that my plan doesn't work and that she was right to call it out. She went on and said, "Do it by noon or I start tagging every local gym and every brand that has ever worked with you." Well, when I saw this message, I just kind of sat there for a minute. But then an idea came to me. I refunded the $50 within the hour and I posted the following word for word as requested on my business page. Here's a public statement as requested by this influencer. I explained that I refunded the client in full. My standard plan prioritizes sustainable, moderate deficits and long-term adherence rather than dramatic one-week scale drops. The client reported following the plan to the absolute letter, but still gained about half a pound in 7 days. Therefore, by the client's own stated metric and timeline, the plan did not produce the immediate results she required for her swimwear shoot, meaning that she was correct to call us out. Now, for a bit of context, we both live in a small, tight-knit city where everybody knows each other, particularly in the business community. I wanted to make sure that any potential brand collaborators knew exactly who they were dealing with. And you know what? I left it at that. No extra commentary, no screenshots, no mention of the 5 in the morning call, the margaritas, the original request for free work, or the fact that she was already in a healthy range for her BMI. Well, by lunch, the post had been screenshotted and circulated in a few local fitness groups. People then started asking the obvious questions under her post. She tried to walk it back, saying that I twisted her words, and then deleted her original rant and then went quiet. Now, the collaboration still happened, and from the photos that went up, the half-pound supposed gain was invisible. invisible. Meanwhile, my page picked up a small but steady stream of new inquiries from people who specifically said they wanted the boring, sustainable version. I never heard from this lady again, and honestly, it just goes without saying that exposure is a dish that's best served cold. I love everything about this story. Holy crap. I will never understand the level of entitlement someone has to possess within themselves to act like this. Seriously, even if you have some kind of like social media following or you make a bunch of money doing whatever online, that doesn't give you a right to act like some kind of like micro celebrity. And it also doesn't give you the right to be like, oh yeah, if you don't do this, I'm gonna make your life miserable. Like this moron tried to treat this like some kind of like mafia shakedown. Like that is crazy, dude. I'm not about to like get extorted by some wannabe Instagram model. Like what is happening right now? That is so ignorant and just so rude. So for me, the way the original poster handled this is hilarious. They literally put this influencer on blast in a way that they could not ignore. Like what, did this influencer really think that the original poster was going to help them save face? Do you think they were going to be like, oh yeah, you're so right, and like say everything they wanted them to say? I mean, holy crap, I would have done the same thing. I would have also happily taken these like subtle shots of this idiot. So yeah, to the original poster, that was beautiful. I love everything about that. But what do you think? Like, leave a comment down below. Have you ever dealt with an influencer in the wild? I've personally never seen that in person, but hey, maybe you have. Like, I don't know. I can't imagine being like, hey, did you know I'm the narrator for Am I the Jerk? Did you know that? You should give me free lessons for this fitness thing or whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure that's how I end up in my own story on like another channel where it's like, narrator from Am I the Jerk acts like a Karen. Like, are you kidding me right now? That's never happening, guys. Guys, I'm not gonna do that. There's way too many people that watch these videos that be like, no, not you. Are you kidding me? We can't have you doing this. Although that would be really funny to see if it works. I don't know, maybe there's like a social experiment in there somehow that will never happen, by the way. But anyways, leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you have to say. Today, I had to deal with my manager, and she was incredibly rude to me at the serving job I'm currently working through college. And at this point, I am heartbroken. Like, I literally drove home in tears after the way she talked to me. And now I don't know what to do about this, and I'm seriously at a loss. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've been a server for about 3 years, and I just started a new job serving about 3 weeks ago. And although I'm still getting the hang of it, I am also still learning. And with that comes a lot of mistakes. So today, I worked a dinner shift, and I had to hold back my tears multiple times because of a condescending and very rude manager. Let me explain what's going on here. The first incident tonight is where I didn't greet a table in time because I was in the back doing an expo for other tables. And for context, there were 3 hosts on staff that could have told me that I had a table. So I quickly go to the table just to then see that another server is grabbing their drink orders. I then thought the server was going to tell me their drinks so that I could ring up the drinks under my name, but no, they literally took the table that was in my section and didn't even offer to transfer them to me. So do I have the right to be a little annoyed that this happened? I mean, it really feels like the server just straight up stole my table. After this situation, that manager comes over to me and asks me if I know what my section is in a rude tone. And I explained that the host did not tell me that I had a table, but they just responded back by saying that I should be sure that I know the tables in my section. During the second incident of the night, I accidentally rang in food to the table right next to the table that I was supposed to get food for. And then the manager runs the food to the wrong table. So when they come up to me, I explain that it's for the table right beside them. In response, the manager gives me the nastiest side eye and just walks away. And please believe me when I say it was an honest mistake. And the food was never dropped to the wrong table, so nothing was remade. Now, the third incident was when she was disrespectful to the kitchen staff. The staff in the kitchen accidentally made the wrong side to a dish, and honestly, this was a completely easy fix. It's here that the manager got visibly annoyed and was super condescending. In response, the kitchen staff got annoyed with her, and at the very same time, I asked the same kitchen staff where a lighter was for a birthday candle, and they kindly showed me where it was. But that's when the manager says, oh, so you're gonna be nice to her and not me? And although this directly did not affect me, being rude to kitchen staff just rubs me the wrong way. Working in a hot kitchen all day, being underpaid, like they deserve the most respect in the restaurant out of anybody. I try not to let this stuff get to me. I am just a college student, and I view serving as a traditional job before I start a career in social work. However, I did cry when I drove home, feeling just completely overwhelmed and stupid for the mistakes I had made. I just want to hear some words of advice and a little bit of insight and constructive criticism on just how to navigate these situations, because right now I don't know what to do. Okay, I gotta be honest to the original poster here, but it doesn't sound like your manager is really being that mean. It seems like they're just responding to one of probably many mistakes in the kitchen itself, and so they're probably just annoyed that once again, a server or a staff member made some kind of mistake that they had to manage. Like, I've worked in management positions before, and let me tell you something. When my team isn't doing what they need to do, it is very stressful. It can feel like herding cats, bro. It's like, oh my god, please just do your job right. Please don't make me have to enforce rules that I don't want to have to enforce. We really should should be able to just work together and be friends and everybody's happy. But when someone's not pulling their weight or they're making silly mistakes where it's like, dude, you really should have rang this food up for the correct table. Like, there's no reason why that should happen. Or even just not being aware of when someone's at your tables. Like, those are things a part of your job you really do need to be aware of. You've got to be proactive. You got to do things right. So in my opinion, I think, like, honestly, to the original poster, I would not take this personally. This is just business. This is her just trying to do her job. She's under a lot of stress just like you are. Now, it would be different if she was cussing you out and trying to like sabotage your job or doing any of the other horrible things we've heard about on this channel that managers have done. Like, I think I've made hundreds of videos about managers or like people you work with who are just horrible people. And this one doesn't sound like it. It just sounds like someone who's busy and trying to get work done. And they're also just trying to do the job right. So I totally understand. Maybe this kind of like work environment is new for you and you're not used to this kind of like level of confrontation, but please don't take it personally. This is honestly just them doing business. They're just trying to make the restaurant run smoothly, and part of that is you just doing your job. I guarantee you, they would love you to death if you became that person that they don't have to worry about. You're not making mistakes. You're not doing anything to like divert their attention. There's no mess that you're making they have to clean up. Like, dude, they would be like, oh, you're the best employee ever, only because I literally never have to talk to you. So that would be my personal mentality going back to work on Monday. I would be like, okay, this week I'm going to be better than what I was last week. I'm going to order things for the right table. I'm going to set things up where I'm aware of who's at my section. I'm going to do everything correct and no one's going to correct me or even notice that I'm doing anything wrong. Because guess what? I'm not going to do anything wrong. And then eventually, if you practice that enough, that will become your reality. So yeah, man, don't quit. Don't give up. I think you have a good job. It doesn't sound like you've got managers that are like really toxic. And if anything, based on what you've told us, they're probably just trying to make sure they get their jobs done and that everything runs smoothly. My entitled mother demands that I watch her cats while she figures out her moving situation, forcing them upon me and practically making my one-bedroom studio apartment an absolute nightmare. But now my landlord is calling, informing me that they know I have cats in my apartment. And now I'm concerned that I may get evicted unless my mom comes back and gets her cats. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my mother and my youngest are moving to the United Kingdom in literally a few weeks. She sold my grandfather's house as it was no longer needed, but she didn't plan very well. She didn't plan a place to stay after the house was sold, as she claimed she didn't expect the house to be sold so fast. And so once the house was sold, she started staying with my oldest sister, even without asking, just expecting her to let her, which they unfortunately did. Originally, she was gonna make me let her and my little sister stay, but as I live in a studio apartment with just a bedroom, a kitchen, and lounge in one room, I told her it was not possible. After an argument or two, she said that I have to keep the cats then until she can figure out a temporary foster home. Now, she procrastinates severely, so she is being very slow on that point. She hasn't even booked tickets yet. She has over a dozen cats and she is taking 5 with her to the United Kingdom. The rest are gonna be adopted out. However, these cats aren't trained very well, and being in a studio, it clutters the place up. I told her I can take a few, but not all of them. My house doesn't allow pets, so I told her at first I can't, but then she went on a rant about how she's helped me so many times, and that it's the things we do for family that really count. Now, I've already gotten an email from my real estate saying that they know I have cats here, and that I need to get rid of them. Luckily, they're nice as I explain my situation, basically telling them that I'm just helping her out for a little bit. I expected them to stay for like 2 weeks, but it's been almost 2 months. They have made the place smell terrible and keep scratching up my carpet stairs. They keep climbing up to the window edge and knocking things down and waking me up in the middle of the night. I've slept in because of lack of sleep, while also missing a lot of university classes as a result. My partner doesn't mind cats, but when they're jumping all over us in the middle of the night, it's honestly hard to deal with. And the smell too. No matter how many times I clean the litter trays, one of them keeps urinating on my clothes in the wardrobe, no matter how many times I close it and try to keep it closed. At the moment, the cat shelters and such are packed full, but boarding kennels absolutely can take them. I've told my mom that I can't have them, and that boarding kennels are an option, but she claims that they need certain requirements, yet she hasn't even looked any up, and I have. I explained to her how they work, and she still won't listen to me. Anytime I try to explain any of this, she gets defensive, calling me a selfish jerk, and that this is what family does for each other. My youngest sister is calling me selfish for not helping, and my oldest sister calls me the same thing. And now at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Your mom and your sisters are completely wrong. They're absolutely taking advantage of you, and if you're not careful, you're gonna get evicted. Like seriously, they knew that you couldn't have cats at your place, and now practically your landlords know about you having cats. cats. And you know what? Thank goodness they actually understand your situation, because I've met some pretty heartless landlords, as I'm sure some of you have as well. And you should seriously be counting your lucky stars that they are even giving you any kind of buffer towards getting this taken care of. So if I was in your shoes, I would call up my mother and I would be like, look, you need to figure this out and I'm gonna give you a week. If she doesn't do anything about this, in my opinion, I would either drop it off at my sister's place or I would take it to one of the shelters. Those are her options. And if she seriously doesn't like it, then that's straight up her problem, not yours. You cannot keep these cats because you're going to get evicted. And in my opinion, the risk of dealing with these cats even a little bit longer is simply not worth the trouble that your mom has put you in. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled aunts and uncles are stealing from my dying grandmother, taking money that was meant for her in the hospital to help her with all of her medical bills and using it to buy stuff for themselves. And I'm so disgusted by their behavior, and now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My grandmother fell deathly ill after sustaining trauma, broken bones, bruises, head trauma, and subsequent onset of dementia. She required a nasogastric tube just to stay alive, and as you can guess, the medical bills skyrocketed. She has 7 children, of which only 3 are really financially contributing to the expenses, and my dad is one of those people. I sent some money over to help because I love my grandma. She helped raise me, she cooked and fed me, she carried me around. I love her, and helping her was a sentimental decision. But unfortunately, that didn't matter, because my uncle, who is one of her sons, used my contribution to purchase a refrigerator for his wife. He allocated a compartment of the fridge for my grandmother's use, and it's honestly pretty clear the end goal is to claim full ownership of the fridge after she passes away. My grandmother needed a medical assistant bed that had to be purchased. He moved her large bed with canopy into his wife's bedroom while she was in the hospital, not in the guest bedroom where her kids could rest in when visiting to help look after her. They removed her jewelry and sold them for cash. These people are my grandmother's favorite kids. My uncles and aunts bicker about money, and I mean, that's their business. But I sent money to help fund her medical expenses, not to buy my uncle a stupid fridge for his wife. And I didn't get a thank you or any kind of acknowledgement. They act as if I didn't send any help. And this is all because I'm gay, by the way. And because I'm gay, they think it's fine to steal from their nephew. I'm enraged, I'm hurt, I'm bitter, and this was honestly the final straw. I'm so done caring for these people. I'm sorry my grandma won't receive the help that she needs, but there's nothing else I can do besides sending cash because I live abroad. I have no words in my vocabulary to insult them. They're honestly not worth it. And I hate that I share genes with these people. They're twice my age, they're religious, and they're stealing from their mother and their nephew all before their mother is dead. If Hades exists, it's not bad enough for people like them. I'm so sick to my stomach and I honestly don't know what to do. That is seriously messed up. I'm pretty sure that what they're doing might be illegal. Like, think about it. They're taking the jewelry of this grandmother, they're selling it for cash, they're taking the money that was meant for your grandma specifically, and they're using it to buy a fridge. This is all like super shady stuff, and there's no way I would sit there and let that just happen. So I know if I was in your shoes, I would either start making a very big deal about this on social media, or I would be going to the police. Like, seriously, there's no good excuse for this. There's no way this is appropriate, and honestly, these people seriously need to check themselves, because at the end of the day, your grandmother is passing away. She's in a very vulnerable situation, and honestly, she doesn't need people stealing from her like that. So hopefully something can be done about this, otherwise this is only going to cause more problems in the future. Am I the jerk for telling my sister about my partner's plastic surgery after my sister started to get obsessed about her looks after my partner lied about having plastic surgery? Here's what happened. My girlfriend and I moved to Europe a few years ago, and she ended up getting a lot of plastic surgery while we were out there, and it was all stuff that I begged her not to get. She got a blepharoplasty, a nose job, fillers, a chin surgery, and I don't even know what else. I hate to say it, but it really decreased her attractiveness. Don't get me wrong, she is still beautiful, but not nearly as gorgeous as what she used to look like. It also just makes me sad that she removed all the features that I loved on her face. It's also sad that people think these are features they need to remove. She looks hollowed out and really tired, but she doesn't want to admit that she got plastic surgery. We were back home from Europe, and people started commenting on her looks at dinner. In fact, one of her friends just straight out asked if she got something done, and she said no. She said it was just aging, and of course she was going to look different now that she's 27. At this point, I was shocked. I could not believe she was playing that card when the results are so dramatic. It was so obvious that she was lying, but no one called her out out on it. My sister has been staying at my parents' house because I'm here, and she has been weirdly obsessing about her looks ever since that dinner. She is only 24 and she is truly a baby. 24 seems so young now, or at least she really does make it look very young. She admitted that seeing my girlfriend brought up feelings of anxiety towards aging. She said she didn't know people could change so much and it was stressing her out. She started calling me and freaking out about a line she found on her forehead, which was hardly even noticeable at all. She isn't a person that is super fixated on her looks, at least normally that is, so this honestly really surprised me. But she was buying a lot of anti-aging skincare and applying it multiple times a day. But I told her she was fine. All she had to do was moisturize and wear sunscreen. I mean, I look the same as I did at 24, but she wasn't buying it and it was obvious why. It hurt so much to see her like that. She kept putting retinol on her face and would ask me daily if I see lines going away when there were no lines in the first place. After a while of her spiraling, one day I finally broke down and I said to her, "Dude, are you really freaking out about aging because of my girlfriend? Chill out, she got plastic surgery. You don't just randomly start to have totally different features after you hit 25. You are going to look exactly how you look right now at 27, so just relax." She is way too young to be hyperfixating on her looks, as well as worrying about aging at the age of 24. She has an obsessive personality sometimes, and really gets fixated on things, probably because of an anxiety disorder. So just telling her that made her drop the subject, thank God. Now, I told her weeks ago, but last week, my girlfriend asked if I told anyone about her plastic surgery. I admitted I did tell my sister because I didn't want to lie about it, and now she is very mad at me. Was I wrong to tell her? I mean, my girlfriend didn't outright say not to tell people, but it was obvious that she wanted me to lie for her and expected me to do that. At the end of the day, my sister's well-being and mental health matters to me more than anything or anyone. She is naive, maybe more than you would expect from a 24-year-old, and I feel like I need to protect her. When I told her my girlfriend lied and had plastic surgery, she said to me, "I didn't think she would lie to me about that." And my sister looks up to me and my girlfriend a lot. Fast forward, and I have not talked to my girlfriend about the future. I've realized I've lost a lot of respect for her, not because of the plastic surgery and changing her appearance. I mean, I had accepted that overall, but she was fine with lying to my sister and watching her spiral into obsession. I kept bringing it up to her that my sister was struggling, and she would just deflect and say a lot of young women care about their looks and that she'll get over it eventually. And this seriously rubbed me the wrong way. My sister is my best friend and my only real family that I have. I'd like to think that a partner would see how important she is to me and prioritize her mental well-being. Now, this did happen about a week ago, so my girlfriend did not break up with me, but I do feel that we need to talk about the future. It's also important to add that my sister didn't tell anybody about her plastic surgery, and she never would. She has kept far worse secrets of mine. My girlfriend is self-conscious about someone finding out, and she'd ask me every once in a while if I told anyone. And that's honestly how this came up. My sister isn't going around gossiping about her appearance or anything like that, and honestly, she would never do that even in the first place. So this is honestly such a messy situation, and I seriously don't know what to do. Yeah, this is a really weird one. Like, is your girlfriend seriously trying to lie about having plastic surgery? I mean, I don't know about you, but it doesn't take a genius to see right away that yes, she probably had something done. I would be willing to bet that pretty much anybody most of the time can spot pretty quickly when someone's had something done on their face. And I'm talking about cosmetic surgery, not like the actual surgeries where people need to have something done to themselves. That's completely different, and you should never judge someone for something like that. Like, sure, you don't have to admit that you've had surgery done, but if you're going to be called out on it, at least have the common decency to be like, yeah, I did have something done. Because otherwise, you're just making yourself look like a fool. Plastic surgery for cosmetic reasons is like this uncanny valley. Unless the surgeon is like really good, people are gonna spot that pretty much right away. I'm not saying that getting plastic surgery is wrong. Do whatever you want with your life. But lying about it when asked directly is really sketchy behavior. So no, I don't think you're the jerk in this situation. I think you were just trying to protect your sister, and the way your girlfriend went about doing this was honestly completely unacceptable. My entitled boss threatens to fire me if I don't work on the days that I requested off. So I decided to throw caution to the wind, letting them know that I would quit instead of sticking around. And I've never felt better about getting away from a toxic job in my life. Here's what happened. So a few years back, I worked on a relief crew on a drilling rig. The rig ran 24 hours a day with 3 shifts. Crews worked 6 days and then 2 days off. My crew would replace a working crew so they could have their 2 days off. So we worked mornings for 2 days, then afternoons, and then nights. It was common to find someone to take a shift if you wanted an extra day off, but the replacement had to have the same abilities. And a crew had several different roles, such as a motorman, a driller, a chain hand and a floor hand. People started as a floor hand, and as they learned, they would work their way up with more responsibility and more pay. Sometimes when someone changed companies, they might take a lower position, so it was common to have somebody who had a lot of experience working the motor or the chain. In September, my wife asked about the chances of getting off for Christmas. I checked the calendar, and my days off fell on December 24th and December 25th. So it was a done deal, and I had it scheduled off. Then I decided to sweeten the pot. I found a guy who would work December 22nd and December 23rd for me, and I also found one who would work the 26th and the 27th. I took this to my driller, who agreed they could work with me. With my 6 days off, I could drive the 400 miles to visit my family. Things looked pretty sweet, or so I thought. The other guys on my crew were in the same position, so they all tried to find replacements, and 2 were successful. Unfortunately, the driller only had 3 other guys on the rig who could work for him, and none of them wanted to help. He got mad and said that since he couldn't get the time off, none of us could get our time off. So I reminded him that he had already approved my time, and he said that was canceled, and if I didn't work on December 23rd, then I would be fired. I told him, fine, I will work the 23rd, but that will be my last day of work. Consider this my 3 months notice. Well, back at work, nothing much was said for the next few weeks. Outside of work, I was networking and found another job I could start the first week of January, and with that, everything was finally set up. At the end of my shift on the 23rd, I emptied my work locker and I said my goodbyes. And you know what? The driller barely acknowledged me. I went home and I drove to see the family the next day. I spent a relaxing week there and then came back to start my new job. About the end of January, I went to a friend's birthday party. There, I saw one of my old crew. He asked me when I was going back to work. The driller thought I was still sulking around and would come crawling back soon. He never did hire a replacement, and they had been working shorthanded for over a month. I said he better hire somebody because I wasn't playing games, and when I said I quit, I absolutely meant it. Good for the original poster for standing up for themselves. First of all, it sounds like your boss is an absolute jerk. They were seriously going to stop you from getting your time off. Like, think about it for a second. You already put your time in. You already said, hey, I'm gonna take off these days. And you gave them like, what, 3 months of a notice to get that figured out? And now just because this one guy can't get his time off, he's now gonna cancel everybody's vacation plans? Like, seriously, that is unfair. That's a big red flag in my opinion, and that guy should not be in a leadership role. And you know what? Here's the thing. Everybody's been in that situation. We've all been stuck having to work through the holidays or something like that. So the fact that this guy would act so weird and basically throw a hissy fit and try and ruin everybody else's plans, all because nobody wanted to give up any of their time, that is so unbelievably toxic. So truly, good for you for finding another job. These people sound like they absolutely suck, and it's so ironic that he didn't even hire a replacement. He thought you would come crawling back, but you know what? You're much better than that, and you do not deserve to deal with these people in the slightest. Am I the jerk for telling my niece that she'll have to move out if she does not want to be a nanny for my kids any longer? Here's what happened. So I first want to start off by saying that I'm a single mom with 2 kids. One is 8 years old and one is 6 years old. I work as a nurse 3 days a week. I work 12-hour shifts from 12 p.m. until 12 a.m. After my husband passed away, I needed a nanny to tend to my kids from the time they got off school, which was about 3 p.m., all the way until the end of the day. I decided a live-in was the best choice, especially since I have a 1-guest bedroom. I live right near a university, and around this time, my niece had just gotten accepted. She wanted to save cost on dorms and offered to watch my kids those 3 days. In exchange, she wanted to live there with us rent-free. I agreed and said that I would pay her $22 an hour, which is a competitive rate for our area. She's done with her classes by 1 o'clock, so it honestly kind of works out. She fixes them dinner, puts them to bed, then she's free to do whatever she wants. But of course, I pay her from 3 p.m. until 12:30 a.m. And this worked for about 2 years, and my niece never had any complaints. Now, however, my niece is getting an unpaid internship related to her major that starts up in January, so she would not be available to watch my kids. I told her congratulations, and then I said I could help her look into student housing or an apartment. I mean, we would only have 3 months to do this after all. Now, when I said that, she was very confused. I said to her that since I would need a live-in and I only have 1 guest room, she would have to move out. My niece then got very upset and said that this isn't fair. She won't be able to save any money if she gets a dorm or an apartment. And honestly, while she could afford to live on her own, she wouldn't have much in terms of savings. I pointed out that this would work best for me as I had to put my kids in aftercare the other 2 days that I work. I get off at around 5 o'clock and the nanny could just pick them up from school as opposed to them having to stay there for so long. My niece argued that the nanny could leave at the end of her shift, but after speaking to some nannies, they, understandably so, don't want to drive home so late. Plus, I'm fine with the nanny falling asleep after the kids do, so there's no sense in them sleeping, then waking up, and driving so drowsy. Even I feel nervous driving home so late, especially after my long shift. My sister-in-law, who's my niece's mom, feels that this is unfair for my niece, but she moved in under the condition that she would work as a nanny. My sister-in-law and brother live about 3 hours away, so my niece wouldn't be able to commute if she moved back in with them. They feel I should try and find a nanny who'd be willing to drive home at 12:30 at night, but honestly, all nannies I've spoken to have said no or expressed concern about their safety driving so late. Now, when it comes to the internship itself that my niece is getting, the internship is all semester long, and my niece isn't interested in being a nanny moving forward at all, and will instead just be pursuing this internship, so she has no desire to work after her internship is done for the day. She knew from the jump that I was looking for a live-in specifically for childcare, and at this point, with all the trouble I'm dealing with, I provided her a written notice, just so I can cover my butt legally. So I really need to know, am I the jerk for telling my niece that she needs to move out if she's not going to be a nanny for my children any longer? I don't think you're the jerk at all. This is completely reasonable, and I don't understand why your sister-in-law and your brother are acting so weird. Like seriously, she moved in to be a live-in. That was her main job and main employment opportunity. I mean, you were paying her what, $22 an hour? That is a very competitive rate, and I think you were doing her a really big favor just by saying, hey, let me pay you for your time. You very easily could have been like, nah, you'll just live here rent-free. That's enough payment for me in my opinion. But no, you decided to pay her and make sure she was making some kind of money. And that's the deal. If she wants to live here, she has to be a nanny for your kids. But now that she's picking up an internship, the entire setup is now completely different. You can only justify someone living in your house with you if they're willing to be a nanny and take care of your kids. Like you need someone who can cover for you when you're working those 12-hour shifts, which by the way, those are probably exhausting, especially as a nurse no less. So truly, I don't blame you for saying the niece has got to move out. Her days are numbered, she's got to find somewhere else to live, and honestly, that is not your fault. She knew what she was getting into, and she knew what the deal was if she wanted to live there. And if she no longer wants to be a nanny for your children, then trust me, I'm right there with you. She absolutely has got to go. My entitled mother-in-law refuses to invite me on a family trip, choosing to only invite my husband and my 2 sons, with her excuse being that we're not really family, proving once and for all that she truly does not like me. But after I started complaining about this situation and telling my sons exactly why I can't come on this trip, my husband is turned on me and is now calling me a jerk for opening up about my feelings. And now I'm kind of at a loss and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my husband and I have 2 8-year-old twin boys. We both work full-time and my husband makes a little more than me, but just a little. We make enough to be financially secure. We can afford all the necessities and rent a 2-bedroom apartment, but we have never traveled aside from weekend road trips and probably won't be able to in the foreseeable future. My husband's family is quite well off. A few weeks ago, my mother-in-law called my husband and asked if he wanted to bring our kids to go on a trip with her. She apparently wanted to spend some time with her family, but her supposed family doesn't include me. She has always disliked me and never considered me a part of her family, partly because I'm not very religious. I mean, my husband is, but he respects my lack of belief, and also because she just doesn't like me. My husband knows this and hasn't ever forced me to interact with her, but he still talks to her occasionally. Anyhow, he told me that my mother-in-law had offered to pay for him and the boys to go on a 2-week trip with her around Thanksgiving time. But guess what? I'm not invited. She said that I'm not her real family, so she doesn't want to pay for me as well. And this is word for word according to my husband. She knows that we cannot afford for me to pay to come on this luxury trip. She can afford it pretty easily herself, and I was pretty upset about this because I would love a break too, but I understand that the kids will love this, so I said that of course they should go. I tried to be cheerful about it, but my husband understood that I was upset. He asked my mother-in-law specifically to please invite me as well so that we can have a proper family trip. She reiterated that I might be his family, but I'm not her family. I told him not to push it because I want my kids to have a good time without my husband and mother-in-law fighting during the trip. But I've been feeling pretty angry about the whole thing. So yesterday when my son asked me why I wasn't more excited about the trip, I told him that I wasn't coming because his grandma hates me. I said this in a bitter tone, and they were pretty upset to hear this. Later, my husband told me I was being a jerk for dumping putting my feelings on my kids and making them feel guilty about looking forward to the trip. He said I was ruining it for them and also ruining their relationship with their mother. They are pretty close after all. He then called me selfish. So honestly, did I do anything wrong here? Am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Your husband and your mother-in-law are complete jerks. First of all, your husband is a coward. He is not standing up to his mother in the slightest, and he is letting her treat you like garbage in an open manner. Like, this is a blatant form of disrespect, and there's no excuse for him not defending you. Why on earth would she try to be like, well, you're not my family, but your kids are? Like, what is she talking about? Of course you're family. The fact that he is even entertaining having some kind of trip with his mother-in-law while you stay at home and your kids go along is incredibly insulting. I would not stand for that. Look, in my opinion, if the kids are going somewhere, then both parents should be there as well. So the fact that your husband is so willfully letting this slide and basically doing nothing to try and defend your name is unbelievably toxic and a massive red flag in my opinion. There is no excuse for this behavior. Legitimately, there really is no good excuse. And how dare the mother-in-law try and act like this is appropriate? She's trying to pretend like it's okay to split up the family and basically trying to test yours and your husband's boundaries. Because if she can get away with this, then she will absolutely push the envelope further in the future. That's my honest opinion at least. So no, you are not the jerk here. Your husband's a jerk for not even trying to defend you, as well as having literally no spine in this situation, and also your mother-in-law is a complete weirdo. Any grandparent who acts like this has no business being around your kids. And I know if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would ever put up with this. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled coworker treats me like garbage and has constantly been trying to get me fired, so I decide to maliciously comply, and as a result, I make her job just a little bit harder, just to try and get some revenge from her horrible attitude. Here's what happened. I'm a 28-year-old female, and I work in insurance billing for a big medical facility in my area, and one of my daily tasks is to save and download remits from a program daily. I've been at this company for a little over 3 years now, and I know how to do my job, and I do it pretty well. There is this woman that we will call Jane. Jane is not her real name. She's about 51 years old, and she is always trying to make things harder for me, as well as trying to get me fired. There is a set of 4 cubicles where myself, another employee, and Jane sit at, with a printer sitting in the other cubicle. She's lied to higher-ups about me sleeping at my desk, wasting time, playing on my phone, and just overall anything she could come up with, just to try and make me look bad. She's yelled at me for turning the lights off on her, which honestly was an accident, and I apologized to her, but she just kept trying to go off on me, bringing the argument into the parking lot. I just ignored her and kept walking, but that turned into a meeting with the office manager, as well as my direct supervisor, with Jane and other employees and myself. Long story short, I basically told her I didn't understand where all the animosity was coming from. I'd been working here for 2.5 years at this point. She looked at me and said that I got her in trouble my second week of ever being there because she told me something about a job I had no idea about, and I asked my direct supervisor who was training me at the time after that, and she told me how to do something. And this is the reason why she doesn't like me. I didn't go out of my way to get her in trouble or anything like that. I was just confused, so I asked a question. I did apologize to her in the meeting, but she just ignored me. Well, fast forward a week, and I'm sitting at my desk, and she comes up to me to say that she accepted my apology. Then she starts printing out Bible verses and scriptures just to put on her corkboard about forgiveness and how it's not for the other person, it's for yourself. She's literally the meanest person that works here, but she's got this holier-than-thou mentality that makes her think that she's the best thing since sliced bread. And with all things considered, I decided now would be a good time to maliciously comply. So for context, I save and download remits for a few different clients every morning. Mondays are my busiest days for this, because I have to pull them from different sites, while also pulling them from a program that sends these to us electronically. Jane does billing for one of the same clients I pull remits for, and she needs these remits just so she can make deposits as well as several other things. It usually takes me about 3 hours to complete this for all the clients, mostly because of what would come through over the weekend and on Fridays. So Jane essentially needs these first thing in the morning. Well, apparently, Jane has complained that I keep messing them up when I save and download them. But here's the thing, I know I'm not messing up. In fact, I triple checked myself. I received an email last week stating that Jane was complaining again, so I decided decided Monday would be the day that I did things a bit differently. I came in and instead of doing Jane's client first, I did the other 4 and then I decided to take my time on Jane's because, you know, I had to make sure every letter and number was 100% correct because she needs them to be. I didn't want her to be upset or anything like that. Well, she was waiting for all the remits for a deposit, so instead of the deposit getting done at 8:30, it instead didn't get done until the next day. I've now been doing hers last since Monday, and I don't know if anything will be said about her taking longer, but I have to do as I'm told and make sure it's correct, right? But I'm honestly sick of Jane, and hopefully I don't have to deal with her in the future. That's really toxic behavior in my opinion. This Jane lady seriously wants to try and act like you're the one with the problem, and then print off all these Bible verses just to try and justify her own toxic behavior. Like seriously, this lady has problems. First of all, you didn't do anything wrong. This Jane lady has had it out for you, all because of a misunderstanding literally 2 years ago. Can you imagine being so petty that you hold a grudge against a coworker who hasn't bothered you ever, by the way, all because of something they did when they first started? Like, that is insane to me. There's no reason to act like that in the slightest. This Jane lady is the one with the problem. She has no reason to act this way, and she just takes out her frustrations on you for no reason. The original poster also goes on to clarify that she definitely made her voice known when she had that meeting with everybody. She said straight up that Jane has been incredibly nasty while also defending herself against everything that was said about her. So good for the original poster, and hopefully for the sake of your own sanity, you won't have to deal with Jane like this ever again. I accidentally made my partner wait outside until 4 in the morning, and now as a result, he is so angry with me, leaving me unsure of how to apologize or even knowing what to do. Here's what happened. So for a bit of context, my partner and I have been living at my mom's house for a while now. Things have been up and down for both of us, so although it's not the most ideal living arrangement, it's made things slightly easier during this rough patch. However, with situations like this, it's becoming a problem. I've never been so serious and so in love with someone, so I believe sometimes it definitively clouds my judgment on certain situations. But you know what? This time I think I really messed up unintentionally. Last night he messaged me from work to say that he wanted to come home early as he wasn't really feeling too good. For a bit of context, he works at night. I agreed to stay up until he was ready to come home so that I could order him an Uber because public transportation is not 24 hours here and we don't drive. Originally he said he'd be done by 2 in the morning, so I stayed up, but then he didn't communicate with me until 3 o'clock in the morning, and at that point I was shattered. I didn't complain though, I just ordered him the cab and waited for him to be in it, so I knew that I'd done what I needed to in order to help him. But this is where everything went sideways. As a bit of side context, every time he leaves for work, my first question is, do you have a key to the house? And his response was, yes, it's in my pocket. So as far as I was concerned, I had done my job for the night, meaning that I could finally rest. So I put my phone back on silent, and I thought to myself he would be home soon for cuddles. But no, he didn't have his key. And of course, I was fast asleep, and I didn't hear my phone because, you know, it was on silent, all the way up to the point where he rang it so many times that the battery went out. He didn't ring the bell because he didn't want to wake up my mom or my son, but to be completely honest, I kind of wish he did. So he ended up waiting outside for over an hour until I eventually woke up, realized he wasn't in bed, and that my phone was out of battery. I could literally feel the panic rushing through my body, and I shot up to rush to the door, and I saw him standing there. I was met with some very vulgar language, and I knew that it wasn't good. He is now so angry at me, and I do completely understand why, but when it comes to my argument, I ask him if he has a key just to avoid this situation from happening, because I know myself, and I can drop like a fly when I'm tired. Anyway, I'm not asking who's in the wrong here, because nothing was done intentionally or maliciously. It is honestly just an awful situation. I just have no idea how to make things right. I know he'll probably get through it, but then I can also see that this is bigger than any other time that we've argued, and I genuinely do feel so horrible about it. How do I apologize to him while also stressing that he needs to be more responsible on his end? What should I do? Honestly, it kind of seems out of place that your partner is not doing more to cover his own transportation. Like, why should you have to stay up until all hours of the night just to try and get him home? Also, this is an adult we're talking about, right? Last I checked, this guy's 27 years old. How does he not have a key to his apartment? Like, isn't that one of the 3 things you grab when you go out the door? For me, I'm always checking if I have my keys, my phone, and my wallet. Like, how did he seriously walk out the door without his key? That is honestly mind mind-blowing, and that is not your fault. And look, I can understand him being tired and very angry about the situation, but for him to have some kind of grudge and not be willing to have, I don't know, a conversation about this is really immature in my opinion. So I think it all just comes down to apologizing and trying to find some kind of like middle ground. I know if I was in your shoes, I would start off by saying, look, I'm really sorry that I didn't let you in, but also you really need to keep your keys with you and maybe order your own taxi or Uber from this point forward, or something along those lines. Because here's the thing, in my opinion, you're both adults. This is a conversation the both of you absolutely can have. And if he wants to be unreasonable and have some kind of weird grudge against you, then I truly believe the problem is with him. An entitled family comes into our restaurant 10 minutes after closing, and even though I explained to them that we were closing for the night, my pushover manager allowed them to stay. And as a result, this family made my life a living nightmare, and I've honestly never been more angry in my life. Here's what happened. So to start things out, on Tuesday I worked a closing shift at a restaurant I work at. Where I work, we close at 9 o'clock p.m. during the weekdays and 11 o'clock p.m. during the weekends. It's also important to add that online our hours are 11 p.m. all week. Even though our actual hours are different, it's been an issue for a few weeks, and we are still trying to fix this because some people tend to walk in after closing. Most of the time people are understanding and they leave. Sometimes though we get a few who are upset and throw a fit, but this Tuesday I had the most entitled family walk in literally 10 minutes past closing, and I couldn't believe the way they treated me. A man walks in asking if we are still open, and I tell him I apologize, but we close at 9 o'clock and we are closed for the night. He then says to me, but your hours online say that you close at 11 o'clock. And I then explained to him how we've been trying to get it fixed and that our hours are 9 o'clock p.m. weekdays and 11 o'clock p.m. on weekends. He does say okay and then leaves the restaurant, and I thought he'd leave, but I was very wrong. His wife then walks in with 3 children behind her, asking if we're actually closed or if I'm too lazy to serve them. So I explained to her what I explained to her husband, and my manager actually overhears this conversation. I think it's also important to add that my manager is a complete suck-up to customers, and trust me, you're going to see exactly why. He walks up to us and tells this entitled woman, oh, we can add a seat, no problem. So he then just seats them at a table that I had just swept up and cleaned. I asked him why he did that, because for starters, we are closed, and secondly, the kitchen and the bar were also closing up for the night. He then tells me, it's better to just let them have their way and not to argue. I then ask if he's expecting our kitchen and bar to stay open all night for this one family, and he tells me, no, just get their order, and once that ticket is finished, the kitchen will then close up. So I just accepted it and went up to them to get their order. When I walk up to them, I say to them, welcome, I just want to let y'all know our kitchen and bar are closing up for the night, so our last calls for any drinks and food items will be right now. And I literally said this since my manager told me that the kitchen would close after I ring their ticket, and that's when the mom chimes in and says, I really do not appreciate being rushed, which would be understandable if you didn't come in after closing. So after a million questions going back and forth, they finally decided on what they wanted to eat. After they are done ordering, I let them know again that it's last call and that they wouldn't be able to order anything else. And that's when the mom tells me, yeah, whatever, just ring in our food since you want us out so badly. I say to them, okay, and then I just walk away. After I bring out their food, they immediately tell me that the dishes I brought out were wrong. They begin to tell me that they actually wanted grilled fish instead of fried fish. They never mentioned any modifications about any fish to me while they were ordering. Also, it wasn't like I was rushing them while ordering, because I answered about 20 different questions about every single dish, just so they would know every detail about the dish. They then tell me, whatever, it's fine, we'll just eat it as it is. So then I just walk away, and I let my manager know that their food is out and that the kitchen is good to close up. 5 minutes go by, and I go and check on this family to see if they need anything else. And my God, they completely ruined the booth they were sitting at. Food was all over the floor, and grease was all over the seats where the kids were sitting. I think I let it show on my face the shock I felt, because the mom said, yeah, you're gonna have a lot to clean up. I try to keep my composure and ask if they need anything else, and they tell me, yes, we want to order to go, but I then tell them that they can't because last call was while they were ordering. And it's right about now that this woman goes crazy. She starts demanding all of the food they ate for free, while also saying that I'm an awful server for not letting them order to go. At this point, I just walk away. I go print their tab so that they can pay and finally leave because I was done with this woman's behavior. When it came time to be paid out, the husband pulls out a stack of cash and gives me the exact amount, and then he gives me a penny. He tells me, "Here's your tip," but I refused to let it get to me. I simply handed him his penny back, and I just told him to get home safe and that they need to leave. After they left, I go and clean up the mess that they made, including the children's boogers off the wall, because they also left that for me to clean up. After all was done, I left at around 11 o'clock p.m. to go home. And honestly, I hope that mom gets karma for the way she treats people. Wow, I honestly don't know if I would continue working there if that happened to me. Like, first of all, your manager sucks. I've said it once and I'll say it 100 times. Any manager, and I mean any manager, who throws their coworkers under the bus just to try and make themselves look good, while also trying to pander to customers or clients or whomever, they, in my opinion, are absolute dirtbags. That is so inappropriate, and it goes against literally everything you were trained to do at this restaurant. Like, this is not fair for you or the kitchen in the slightest. So for him to step in like that really makes you look bad. It makes you look like the bad guy, even though you were just doing your job. Like, my man, it's a Tuesday night. Why are we letting people into the restaurant? We are about to close. Do you not understand what that means? Now, I've worked in the restaurant industry as a server and a busboy, and I can tell you, after a long day, the last thing I want to deal with is somebody coming in after closing. Like, I literally just want to go home and get some sleep, because chances are I've got an early morning the next day. But these people come in 10 minutes after closing. I'm kind of surprised the doors weren't closed at that point, or maybe like the front door was locked or something like that. Something to make it very clear, hey, we're closed and you can't come in to eat. Also, I can only imagine how angry the kitchen must be. They're probably freaking out, sitting there thinking to themselves, wait a second, I thought we were going home. The one golden rule of the restaurant is that you don't upset the kitchen, because the kitchen is literally the lifeblood of the restaurant. You can have the best service possible, you can be the most charming waiter on planet Earth, but if the kitchen walks out, none of that matters. They really are the MVPs of the restaurant, and they really do deserve the credit that they get. So overall, this is an awful situation. Your manager sucks, and the customers that you had to deal with are just awful. And I'm not even exaggerating here. Like, think about what they did. They didn't listen to anything you said. They tried to order after you said, hey, we can't order anything else, so get it all while you can. And they also tried to act really entitled over the dumbest things. And then at the end of it, they destroy the booth that you just cleaned, while also trying to give you a penny for a tip. That is so inappropriate and so disrespectful. So if I was in your shoes, I would make it very clear to my manager that if he ever does that again, he will be the one to wait on the people that he lets in, because what you dealt with was so unprofessional, and it literally all stems back to your manager being an absolute pushover. My entitled sister demands that me and my husband go to her wedding that is scheduled to be a destination wedding outside of the country. But even when I explain to my sister that I can't afford to go out of the country just to go to her wedding, she doubles down, proving to me once and for all that she doesn't care about me or my family in the slightest. And I'm honestly so blown away by her attitude, and I can't believe the way that she treated me. Here's what happened. My younger sister has always had issues with entitlement, taking advantage of others, throwing fits and being verbally awful, and just being a miser. And I'm not trying to dispense an armchair diagnosis, but she does check every box of being a narcissist. A few years ago, she announced her engagement to a nice guy who is a pushover. He expressed not wanting to get married for a while, but she ended up proposing to him. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but she really kept pressuring him to get married. He comes from a wealthier family than us and is good with money and investments. So this is the perfect combo for her to take advantage of and have someone to bankroll her delusions. He wanted a modest local wedding so that friends and family could attend. My sister decided she wanted a destination wedding outside of the country. At the time, my husband and I didn't have the best paying jobs. He was working on a second degree, and we had eminent goals of buying our first home together. We regretfully declined her invitation because the trip would cost us $3,000 to $4,000, of the which we just did not have. It would have had to go on a credit card. When we didn't reserve our spot, my entitled sister said that she and her now husband wanted to pay for everything so that we could attend. My husband and I were floored because, for starters, that is a lot of money. And secondly, my sister has never been one to offer to pay for anything. So we accepted her offer with a lot of gratitude. A couple of months go by and she asked if my husband and I have booked our airplane tickets and our hotels yet. She then said, "They just keep getting more expensive the closer they get to the date, you know." But I thought to myself, wait, what are you talking about? I have never expected anyone to just give me anything anything, but my financial situation hasn't changed. We tell her this and she says, well, my husband and I looked at all the prices a while ago and it is just too much money, so you guys will have to take care of it yourselves. But we just ignored her and went on with our goals. Months go by and my husband and I were getting better jobs and we were about to buy our house. My sister then comes back and asks again if we purchased our tickets, despite repeatedly telling her no, we didn't. So we tell her again that no, we haven't done that, and at this point with our new jobs, we are not allowed to take any time off yet, and we don't have enough PTO anyways. When I started my job, they offered to honor upcoming events if I needed time off, but I had said that I didn't need anything since I already planned on not going to the wedding. We didn't have savings, and we took on a mortgage, so we cannot tack on credit card debt as well. I was so annoyed with her constantly saying, you just need to figure it out, as well as all the other tantrums that she would throw, basically implying that if we didn't show up, we didn't really love her. So I tried to frame it differently just so maybe she could understand. I told her that attending her wedding would literally mean that we would have to no-show at work. We would likely lose our jobs and not be able to pay our mortgage, and then we would lose our house. I then said to her, so you're okay with my husband and I losing our jobs and our house and risking homelessness so that we can attend your wedding? And of course, as you might have already guessed, she did not have a good answer to that question. She has no concept of money because she has always manipulated people into paying for her. She has never been able to hold a job. She has no empathy for others, yet she thinks that she is deserving of special treatment. I don't understand where it came from because our parents raised us to be hardworking and not to expect anything from anyone. Even our parents and my husband and I couldn't afford to attend. Her husband's family could and wanted to go, but she wouldn't allow it because apparently it would be weird to only have his family there and not hers. She literally put up a huge paywall and then blamed us that she would have to elope and then went no contact with us. And here's the thing, when we accepted her offer to pay for our trip, she had said to not worry about anything at all. She said she would book our flight and hotel and literally everything, while also telling us to sit back and relax because she really just wanted us to be present at her wedding. She even gave us dates to put in time off requests at our old jobs so that we could accommodate this situation. So that's why we didn't buy anything with the intention of her reimbursement. And we were really just surprised when she asked us if we had done anything in terms of booking stuff. I should have known better since all of that is very unlike her. But regardless, it is such a relief that she is no longer in contact with us because she has treated us so poorly, and I can't imagine having a lifetime of dealing with her attitude. Yeah, your sister is an absolute moron. Who in their right mind would be like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll pay for your tickets and your hotel and all this other stuff, and then turning around and be like, hey, did you book your hotel and your flight yet? It's like, are you insane? Like, what are you talking about? So she not only lied about booking your tickets, but she then tried to flip the script and be like, oh, but it's your turn, you're gonna have to buy all this stuff. That's insane to me, and honestly, I don't blame you for wanting to get away from her. This is a huge blessing in disguise for her to be like, oh, I'm never contacting you again. You're the reason I had to elope. Lady, you're scheduling a wedding that nobody can afford. No one can afford to leave the country just to appeal to your stupid wedding. I mean, the original poster has it right. This is literally a paywall of their own doing, and there's nobody to blame except for this stupid entitled sister. And it really blows my mind that she didn't care about you possibly losing your job or even not being able to pay for, you know, your new house if you did decide to go on this trip. I mean, I don't know about you, but I definitely don't have a couple $1,000s sitting around. I personally can't just drop that all of a sudden just to go on some island getaway to go to somebody's wedding. Like, that is absolutely not gonna happen, and anyone who would try to force that on me no matter what is seriously out of their mind. So honestly, good riddance to this entitled sister. She clearly is a piece of work, and I honestly feel really bad for her husband. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for not wanting to stay home for the night with my daughter while my wife goes out with friends? Here's what happened. So to start things out, my wife rarely goes out with her friends, maybe 6 times a year, and has never been very social and prefers spending time with me. I am more social, but that has declined as we are focusing on our family. We do have a 2-year-old daughter after all, and I spend time with the same 3 friends once a week for game nights that are either in person or online. I have another 3 friends that I see only once every 2 months, and this is also for game nights. If I go out, my wife will tend to our daughter. I often still help with dinner and bedtime, but sometimes I leave earlier than this. Our daughter's bedtime is about about 7:30 p.m., and she often sleeps through the night without any kind of problems. She maybe wakes up about 5% of the time. I always offer for my wife to sleep in the next day, or even something similar in exchange for me going out, so that it's not just a one-sided thing. Now, with that bit of context out of the way, here's the scenario that we are currently in. My wife made plans to spend an evening this weekend out with friends, and she would be out from 6 o'clock p.m. until late at night. After she made those plans, I was invited to my friend's birthday thing with my second friend group, and if I went, I would be gone from 5 p.m. until very late as well. Last time I saw them was exactly 1 month ago. I brought this plan up with my wife as I wanted to make arrangements for a family member to take our daughter for the evening, but she was irritated by this and argued that I should stay home. I have since spoken with a family member who is happy to take our daughter at 5 o'clock and have her stay the night, and I've communicated this to my wife. I made it clear that this will not affect her plans at all. I will be responsible for drop-off and pickup of our daughter, and I will not ask anything of my wife because I understand that it is rare for her to have a night out like this, and so I don't want her to change her plans at all just for me. But she still thinks that I should stay home. This is her argument. She says that since she always covers for me, that I should also cover for her. She also doesn't want to ask this family member to have our daughter for the night because she thinks we ask way too much of them. But in contrast, this is my argument. I am covering for her, as she does not have to change her plans and doesn't have to do anything for our daughter. Also, this family member loves watching our daughter, and my wife is often quick to agree to leave our daughter there for sleepovers plenty of other evenings, purely out of just convenience. So I don't see why this time is too much to ask. I feel like she wants me to stay at home as a form of punishment for going out more frequently than she would prefer. And sure, the word punishment feels too strong of a word. I mean, I don't think there's any kind of major resentment behind this or anything like that. I just don't know how else to describe the feeling. So am I the jerk here for making plans to go out the same night as my wife, even though I've got everything figured out for our daughter? What should I do? So from my perspective, it does kind of seem like your wife is trying to punish you. It really does come off as if she wants you to stay at home, just like she's had to stay at home for plenty of other arrangements. But on the other side of this, your wife never gets to go out. She only goes out to see her friends maybe 6 times a year? Whereas you get to see them once a week. That's a lot more hangouts and a lot more nights out that you get to spend, while she's at home unable to see her friends. But personally, here's my opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong with leaving your daughter at the family member's house while you go to this friend's birthday party and spend time with them. I really think you have everything set up, and it sounds like you have all of your bases covered. The only part of this that would really make me think that this is a bad plan is the fact that your wife really does not like this. That alone would really make me rethink my plans, and maybe just tell my friends, hey, I can't make it this time. I've got to watch the kid. I mean, in my opinion, I think you really should work with your wife on figuring out the best situation for your daughter, and if she disagrees with her being watched by another family member, then I think you might need to take some time to see where she's coming from with this. But that's just my opinion. What would you do in this situation? Would you try to find a babysitter to watch your kid in this situation? Or would you stay home to watch the kid and miss out on the birthday party? Leave a comment down below. We would love to hear what you have to say. Today, I messed up by ruining my husband's relationship with his best friend. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So my husband and I are both 35 years old, and we have been together for 7 years and married for 5. He has 2 older brothers that he isn't particularly close with, and the one person he is very close with is his cousin by the name of Aaron. Aaron is not his real name. They lived together after my husband graduated college. He was the best man at our wedding, and Aaron even lived with us for a year while we were married so he could finish school. I like Aaron a lot. He has felt like a brother-in-law to me, much more than my actual in-laws have ever felt. My husband and I have had a rough 3 years. Between COVID, there was a point where both of our fathers were in terrible health. We've dealt with infertility issues, and sadly, in July, we had a stillbirth at 34 weeks pregnant. And Aaron has been there for us through all of that. He is probably the person my husband can lean on the most for support. Well, last night, I get a call from Aaron's lifelong girlfriend by the name of Jennifer. Jennifer is also not her real name. She asked if it was okay if she could come over and have some girl talk with me. Now, Jennifer and Aaron have been together about as long as my husband and I have been together. She has 3 kids from a previous relationship, and we love them. They spend the night at our house, and her older kids dog sit for us. She comes over and proceeds to tell me some serious problems that she has had with Aaron, and she is at a loss at what to do. Here's the main crux of her issues. Aaron has an insane amount of debt and has basically used her as a place to crash for 7 years. He is constantly criticizing her for her parenting, saying that she babies her teenage children, and finally, he's lying about where he's going, and his locations that she can see has him visiting a sketchy massage parlor, if you know what I mean. Now, I hate to say it, but the financial issues and the parenting issues, I kind of already vaguely knew about it. Even myself and my husband have called Aaron out about how he talks about the teenagers, but clearly I had no idea how bad it was. We talked through it, and I flat out asked her, if you really think he's going to a massage parlor for sketchy business, would you then still stay with him? And when I asked her that, she said yes. So I just gave her some advice about boundaries and talking to him, and then I just left it at that. After she left, I went upstairs and told my husband what happened. He then proceeds to have a complete breakdown. He is in tears. I finally get him to talk, and he starts saying things like, can I just have one person in my life that I can trust? I can't even go to my brothers to talk. And now I can't even trust Aaron because I know what he's been doing, while also screaming out that he's better than this. I mean, he was just completely and utterly destroyed. I feel terrible. I didn't even think about it when I told him what Jennifer said. I didn't even think that it could ruin their relationship. Aaron is the only person he goes to for advice and really looks up to as a big brother, and I just completely destroyed that image. Right now, at least, I'm going with a classic strategy of pretending like it didn't happen, but I just feel like I completely took away the one family member who he felt comfortable turning to for emotional support. So did I mess up here? I mean, my husband's reaction really makes me think that I did. The minute I realized he was breaking down and crying, in my head I was thinking, oh no, I messed up big time. I just feel so horrible for making him upset. And I know that it wasn't me, it was Aaron that did this to him, but maybe it's the former Catholic in me. I'm just programmed to feel inward blame for some reason. Fast forward, and I've tried my best to avoid the subject about Aaron and Jennifer. My husband and I both work from home, so we see each other a lot. Then, while I was in the shower, he came into the bathroom and said, by the way, yes, I'm still upset about Aaron. And I just thought to myself, oh no. We went out for dinner last night, and I did apologize to him. I didn't exactly say, I'm sorry I told you this, but I said something along the lines of, well, I'm sorry this happened. And he said to me, you have absolutely nothing to apologize for. I am just so angry at Aaron. But me, being the paranoid person that I am, I asked him anyways, and I said, are you sure you aren't mad at me at all? My husband just said to me, I'm about 1% mad at you, because you probably shouldn't have told me after I ate my gummies. And for context there, we take Delta 8 gummies at night to help us sleep. I guess he had already taken a few by the time I came upstairs. Now, I did tell him that there were more awful things that Aaron has done that I didn't get a chance to tell him because he was so upset at the time. I asked him if he wants to know that stuff, to which he said, well, not now, maybe another night. And at that point, we just enjoyed our steaks and chilled for the evening. Honestly, I don't know what is going to happen moving forward. He is very insistent that he is not going to reach out to Aaron, and Aaron still has no idea Jennifer talked to us or that my husband knows all the garbage he's done. So at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't think you did anything wrong. If I had a best friend or a cousin I was really close with who was acting like a complete fool, and my partner just so happened to know some information about them, I would absolutely want to know what's going on. I would not want to be kept in the dark about that. That is someone that I trust and look to for emotional advice. And sure, you can probably still do that, but Aaron's behavior is completely inappropriate. And I know that personally, once I would find that information out, I would probably be looking to somebody else for emotional comfort. That's just me personally. So in my opinion, at the end of the day, you didn't do anything wrong. And I really think you helped your husband out in the long run. My girlfriend gave me a 1-week ultimatum to decide if I want to marry her or not. And at this point, I'm freaking out, and I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, so for a bit of background, we first started talking about the possibility of marriage or engagement only 2 months ago, although we had been dating for over a year by that time. Not only had we not talked about marriage, but we hadn't even talked about any details whatsoever about a future together. Also, neither of us have ever been married before. I had been hesitant to bring up the future with her because I knew that I wasn't sure yet, so she was the one to finally bring it up 2 months ago. I discovered that she is 100% ready to get married, and she discovered to her great disappointment that I was still unsure, and she had assumed that I would be 100% ready. Furthermore, she told me that she wanted to get married by this coming February because her mom would be visiting soon from out of the country and would be heading back home in February. So the time from which we started discussing marriage, which was about August, to her ideal marriage date in February, leaves only 6 months for me to make up my mind, get engaged, plan a wedding, and then have the wedding. The main reason she gives for insisting on a rapid timeline is concerns over her biological clock, meaning that both of us do want to have kids. I was completely freaked out and caught off guard by her proposed timeline. I'm a very analytical person, a classic overthinker, and prone to heavy anxiety over big decisions. I told her that my ideal timeline would be that we would get engaged by February, but we wouldn't get married by then. I felt this would give us enough time to thoroughly discuss our future all before getting engaged, and enough time for me to feel comfortable about the decision. Now, neither of us have been willing to bend on our ideal timelines. I mean, I still feel like I need more time, but she believes that I've had plenty of time to make up my mind, and not only from the 2 months that we've been talking about it, but also due to the prior year that we had been dating, but not talking about marriage. While both of us have been trying to assert our preferred timelines, one difference is that I've at least tried to express empathy and my understanding of her needs. Meanwhile, I can't recall any time she has expressed any empathy for my needs on this topic. On Monday, we met up, and she told me that she can't bear to wait any longer for me to decide. So she issued an ultimatum for the end of this week to decide whether to break up or to commit to the February marriage. Now, because of this, I've been in an anxiety-ridden, depressive state all week from the pressure. I definitely don't feel ready to make a decision, but I also don't want to miss a chance on what could potentially be a great future with her. Just because I was being indecisive, I also don't want to hurt her. I mean, honestly, how do I navigate this ultimatum? Do you think she's right that I should have been able to decide by now? I appreciate any advice, including if there is some way to navigate this situation while honoring my need for more time and her need for some kind of decision. What should I do? Okay, so honestly, I can kind of see both sides of this. For starters, I totally understand the anxiety when it comes to having an ultimatum placed upon you. That can really be stressful, and I know for me personally, I don't really like timelines like that being placed on me so suddenly. Like, that really would stress me out, so I totally understand where you're coming from. But the other side of this with your girlfriend really does make sense. For some additional context, the original poster here is 43 years old, and his girlfriend is 39 years old. It's not like these two are in their early 20s or anything like that. It's not like they're inexperienced in the dating world. These are two people who are practically in their 40s trying to figure out their life. And it sounds like the girlfriend is really trying to push the envelope, and honestly, I can see why she would want to do that. You have been dating for well over a year, and the two of you have been talking about your possible life for 2 months. Or at least you should have been. I mean, has the original poster even been talking about a future with this woman for what, 2 months now? It seems like your girlfriend brought up marriage because she's probably like, okay, when is he gonna do it? And look, if you want to try and have kids at some point in your life, you should probably jump on that bandwagon faster than normal. You are 43 years old after all. So with that all in mind, I really understand where the girlfriend's coming from. I mean, the both of you are very clearly adults. You are both very clearly at that age where you need to decide what you want to do with your life. I mean, in my opinion, by that point, if you do want to have kids and have some kind of marriage and a life together, then that clock is definitely ticking, and it's either time to make a move or walk away. But I really think whatever decision you decide to make, it should be based on how you feel about your girlfriend, as opposed to your anxiety over having to make a decision. Like, if I was in your shoes, I would really be thinking about, okay, do I really want to be married to this woman, or is this seriously not the right time? But I wouldn't allow my anxiety over making a decision be the thing that's like, okay, well, I'm just not going to be with you then. I personally think that would be a massive mistake, and I think you would really regret that later on. So hopefully this goes well for both you and your girlfriend, because honestly, with all things considered, I think your girlfriend has a really good point, and I really think it's time to make a decision. My entitled coworker loses her mind when she finds out I put in my 2-week notice, because after she found out this news, she made it her goal to try and get me fired, as well as sabotage my new job. And as a result of her vindictive and awful behavior towards me and the company, she eventually ended up getting fired. And I've never been happier to be away from a crazier coworker in my life. Here's what happened. So I'm a 30-year-old female, and I've been working at a super small construction company for the past 2 years. I put my best foot forward every day and never had any issue with anyone in the company. As of 3 months ago, they moved me from an in-field coordinator to an accounting position. It was an emergency move, as one of the employees stole $80,000 from the company, and they needed an immediate replacement. My new supervisor, we'll call her Mary, that's not her real name, is 34 years old and was always super kind to me, and we've become pretty good in-work friends. But these last couple of months have been a nightmare. I hate the new position, and to be fair, I'm not very good at it. So I found a new position, and I've been keeping it a secret for a while. I let the owner know first, and he was very kind and receptive to it. The issue started when Mary got word of it. She immediately cornered me and started going on this rant saying things like, "Why didn't you tell me? You're being incredibly unfair and selfish. I can't believe you would do this to us. This is unacceptable. Don't ask for a referral because you are not getting one from me." and she just went on and on. I politely told her that the opportunity was something I simply couldn't pass up. She then went to the owner and asked for any details I might have given him about the new company and the new position. And honestly, at that point, I believe she was trying to sabotage me leaving. Thankfully, I didn't discuss any details about it with anyone. It was very awkward after that, but I didn't think anything of it. But the next day is when things took a turn for the worst. Mary decided to be petty and removed all of my authorizations to any accounts I had, so I couldn't perform any of my daily duties. I didn't want to leave on a sour note, so I brought it up to the owner as Mary was out of the office that day. He reauthorized my accounts, and I continued to work. Mary was back the following day and was completely livid that I had went around her and talked directly to the owner, and her actions towards me would only get worse from here on out. The next day, I came in to notice that my desk was moved and my computer access was taken away yet again. So that's when I decided to maliciously comply. Since I couldn't do any of my daily tasks, and I really didn't feel like dealing with a screaming Mary, I decided to jump online for basically the entire day. At the end of the day, Mary came into my new back storage office and said, "Did you have a busy day today? I know mine was." So I just smiled and said, "Yep, mine was exhausting." She did not like that response and went to the owner to say that I was purposefully not doing my job and my last 2 weeks would be pointless, so they should just let me go right now. But the owner disagreed. He called me into his office, and after I explained what she had done, he gave me access again and told Mary that she had to work from home. Another day goes by, and it's extremely peaceful now that Mary is working remote. But unfortunately, this does not mean my day was getting any easier. Instead of taking my access away, she had the IT department start forwarding all my emails to other employees in other departments that had nothing to do with my specific position. Now, at this point, I only have 3 days left, and so I just took it as an, okay, this sucks for them, but it's on Mary's head if anyone has any questions. I looked at my PTO, and I had way more than I thought I had. So I thought to myself, why not just use those for my last days? And that's exactly what I did. I was originally supposed to let all vendors know and starts forwarding them off to the appropriate people and interview second-round candidates for my position. But you know what? I'm not doing that anymore. The owner was completely okay with it and understood that Mary was being toxic and that he would have a talk with her about her attitude and position if this continues. Now, with my last 2 days and me being on PTO, I finally thought I was safe from Mary, but lo and behold, she was still holding a massive grudge, as if me leaving my position was a personal attack on her. She called me at 4:30 in the morning and left me a voicemail saying that our company was having an accounting emergency and I need to come in right away. I called her back about 4 hours later, which she was fuming about, and went on a massive rant about how I'm being extremely entitled and I will never get anywhere with my attitude. She said she's embarrassed for our company to say that I ever worked here, and that if she ever finds out where I will be working, she will make sure that I'm fired and will never get a job in this town ever again. But when she said that, I just laughed at her, and then she went ballistic. And this was like when you take a 4-year-old's toy away from them. She was screaming so loud, her voice was shaking, saying silly things like I have no respect for her, or that I was gonna rot in Hades. Eventually, I just hung up on her once she started bringing my family into things. And after that, I called the owner and explained to him what happened, which he was not shocked about. He then told me that when she came in that morning, she was going on a rampage like the Tasmanian devil. After finding out why she was freaking out, he promptly fired her. I was shocked, since this was a small company and he definitely needed her. I eventually heard from another coworker that she ended up destroying a bunch of company property on her way out, and now she's facing a lawsuit due to all the damages. And I'm honestly just so thankful that she revealed her true self to everyone, and that I'm very far away from that company and her. Wow, that lady burned literally every bridge in that company. She seriously went on a rampage when you said, yeah, I'm gonna quit this position, I'm not doing this anymore. She very clearly took that personally in some kind of way, and she then made it her goal to try and ruin your life. Like seriously, what is wrong with her? Why would you on a professional level act like that towards anybody? Here's the thing about working a job. I've learned that anybody is replaceable. Aside from like the owner of a business, any person in any degree of authority absolutely can be replaced at the drop of a hat. And this Mary lady is no exception. I mean, she was running around that office as if she owned the place. She clearly had some kind of chip on her shoulder about you leaving, and that in my opinion is so weird. Like, why not be gracious about this and try and be supportive of a coworker? You very well could work with them or for them in the future. Who knows where your career could go? Why not try and stay friends instead of making an enemy? And it certainly doesn't help that Mary was trying to throw wrenches in the wheels of the original poster. I mean, they did try to cut off off access to everything this person had. They were constantly being a nuisance and being so rude to the original poster, all with the main goal of trying to ruin this new job opportunity for them. And you know what? I'm pretty sure if Mary knew about your new job, she absolutely would try and sabotage it. So honestly, with all things considered, I'm really glad that Mary got fired, and I'm so glad that you got out of that job. She does not sound like a stable person, and seriously, it was much better for you to leave than to deal with that lady on a daily basis. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Today, I messed up by making a dinner reservation under a celebrity's name. Here's what happened. So this happened back in 2018, and I honestly still regret it to this day. My wife and I were in Buffalo, New York for a friend's wedding. We checked into a hotel the night before and noticed that there was a Morton Steakhouse attached to the hotel. My wife suggested we go there for dinner, and I told her I'd make reservations online once we get checked into our room. While she was taking a shower, I made the reservations. When the site asked for a name, I put in my first name, and then I was prompted to put in a last name. For some reason, I thought it'd be funny to put in Galifianakis, which is the name of the actor, and yes, I did have to Google it just to spell it. I smirked as I confirmed the reservation and didn't think about it again. For reference, I have a beard similar to his in The Hangover, and our body shapes are arguably the same, but that's honestly about it. In a low light setting with some distance, if someone said to you that I was him, you really wouldn't be able to deny it. I usually wear a hat as well, and this evening was no different. About an hour later, we headed down to the restaurant for dinner, and this place was very busy. My wife approached the hostess and told her we had a reservation under Zach. I was standing about 10 feet away in a sea of people, but as soon as I saw how the hostess reacted with a huge smile, I immediately remembered what I did. I quickly thought to myself, oh no, they think it's really him. As I approached, I could hear the hostess tell my wife, we've arranged a table in a more private setting for you both. My wife turned around and stared into my soul. Now, I've seen this look so many times from her, and it's always for the same reason. She mouthed the words, what did you do? And before I could say anything, the hostess said, please follow me. None of the other guests could be bothered, but I could feel a bunch of eyes on me from every single person that worked there as we followed the hostess to our secluded table. Even the cooks in the kitchen stopped what they were doing to get a glimpse. It was very clear when the reservation came in, the word spread and excitement was in the air. As the hostess handed us our menus, a very pregnant waitress approached the table, and this is where it all came crashing down. As she welcomed us to the restaurant, I blurted out and said, I'm sorry, I'm not Zach Galifianakis, to which she replied with a smile, yeah, I can see that. The look on my wife's face was priceless, but I was too deep into damage control to even address it. I said, look, I'm an idiot, I thought it'd be funny, and I wasn't ready for what the waitress was about to unload on me. She said to me, I'm actually a huge fan of Zach, and when the reservation came in, the hostess ran to the back and told my manager. He actually asked me specifically if I wanted the table because he knew how much of a fan I was. And yes, right about now, I felt absolutely horrible. Luckily, she seemed to have a great sense of humor, and I also think she knew I was genuine with my apology. The restaurant took our picture and I signed it. The title of it said, My Date with Zach, and when we left, I gave her about $100 for a tip. But honestly, with all things considered, I really feel dumb and incredibly embarrassed. Wow, that is really embarrassing. I can only imagine going to a restaurant and then reserving your name under a celebrity name. That is a serious gamble, and honestly, what happened in this story very easily could have happened to anybody. So I think the original poster learned a valuable lesson, and next time they try and reserve a table, they'll just use their name to avoid this interaction ever happening again. Am I the jerk for using money from my child support to buy things that I want? Because at this point, my mom's upset, and I'm honestly not sure what to do. Here's what happened. So my parents divorced when I was 8 years old. The custody was basically split in a 70-30 arrangement, and my dad was ordered to pay child support. I recently turned 18, and we started a conversation about if it was necessary for it to carry on or not. My mom was very adamant that it should be continued, and my dad accepted with the condition that the money was put into a bank account and that I could have access to use it anytime I want. So we opened an account in my name, which both me and my mom can have money from. I have been using it a lot, mainly to buy courses, Uber drivers, and ordering food. I know it's irresponsible and I probably should manage the money a bit better, but it just feels nice to be able to pay for the things I want. Well, today my mom sat me down to have a chat about it. She said that she uses the money to pay for my things and that I can't use it that much. I said that I understood, but that dad said I could use it anytime that I want. We argued for a bit, and she said that that if I didn't learn how to control my spending better, I should then just go ahead and live with my dad. But here's my defense. It's not like I'm spending all of the money. I mean, dad is very annoying about saving and how we should always be prepared for pretty much anything, so I put a portion of it in a savings account. And even of the money that is left, I spent about half of it in total. But I do understand that if my mom wanted to do something with the money, she would have to reform her plans to fit my spending. My dad says that the money is technically mine to do whatever I want with, but that I should be mindful of excessive spending and plan an arrangement with her on how much we each can take from the account. My mom says that I'm still too young to manage that money and that I don't know what I'm doing. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, honestly, I think the way you're spending this money is really irresponsible. For starters, you don't even have a job. You're just using this money to buy like Uber Eats and get all this food and clothing. Meanwhile, your mom needs help supporting the house. Like, sure, these funds are being used for whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it kind of seems like you're blowing this money down the drain. Like, your mom is right. It really seems like you're being very selfish and you're wasting money that's meant to pay for your expenses. And now your mom's gonna have to find other means just to cover the cost of things. So yes, in my opinion, I think you're being a massive jerk right now. It really seems like you're taking advantage of the system and you're spending this money even if you're trying to save some of it in a bank account in a way that is really irresponsible. Am I the jerk for requesting my next door neighbor quiet down their toddler who seems to cry at all hours of the day and night? Here's what happened. So for a bit of context, I'm a 36-year-old female and I live next door to new tenants who moved in some 6 months ago, and they have a toddler that's about 3 years old. He shrieks at all times of the day and just does the whole throwing himself on the ground tantrum thing literally multiple times a day. Due to the hybrid work model, I work from home 3 days a week. It's become a regular occurrence to have multiple instances of managers or even my clients asking why there's a child crying in the background. Fast forward, and over the weekend, I met my neighbor upstairs, and she asked me if I also woke up really early, very shocked at the noise. Now, for context, last Saturday, the whole building woke up at 5:45 in the morning because the child in question was screaming, and it went on for a good 20 minutes. Now, here's some information about the kid itself. The child is healthy, and we always see the kid outside playing. The mom is also a stay-at-home mom. There is no neglect or anything like that. The child is well looked after. He looks about 3 years old and goes to a play school in the mornings, but he hasn't been going this week. Now, on to what happened today. I'm working on something critical while handing off my responsibilities due to a transition as well as having back-to-back phone calls. Over the course of 4 hours, I had to keep pausing my call. At one point, a really important client from another continent asked me if I needed to be excused to take care of my child. They even asked if I needed to reschedule the call. Another person on the call chimed in with the same sentence. They basically said to me, "We should not be neglecting a child because our call is running long." I then profusely apologized to them, and I also informed them that it was the neighbor's child. But they mentioned how it sounds like it's happening in my house. After the call ended, I went out to the balcony and, in a very respectful way, asked the mother if the child was unwell. But she didn't like that question, and then she asked me why. I asked her again if the baby is unwell, but she said no. She mentioned that she took away something that he was trying to eat, and that's why he was crying. I explained to her what happened on my calls, and she finally snapped at me and said, "He's a baby, what do you expect?" I then asked her straight up, "Well, if I didn't talk to the child's mother, who else do I have to speak to?" I explained that I completely understand the challenges of being a mother, and I'm sure it's incredibly overwhelming, but this is happening so many times in the day, and it's really not letting me focus on my work. And after I said that, she literally started crying. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I personally don't think you're the jerk in this situation. I think you're doing everything you can to try and make sure you have some kind of work environment that doesn't include this lady's stupid kid crying all the time. Like, think about it. You're working from home, you're trying to get stuff done and have some kind of professionalism. Meanwhile, your clients think that you're neglecting your child. But guess what? You don't have a child, and instead it's your neighbor's child acting like a complete maniac. It's like, I'm sorry, but that's inappropriate. You have every right to have some semblance of quiet and peace in your home, especially at 5:45 in the morning? Like, seriously, it sounds like the mom needs to do a better job of parenting the kid. And maybe that's really mean and insensitive, but it sounds like this is happening to a lot of other people as well. So no, you are not the jerk for talking to your neighbor. You have every right to talk to them and explain what's going on. Because you can bet if you were making noise, you would want to have someone tell you instead of continuing to do it under the assumption that everything's fine. Also, if you're looking for some type of practical setup, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea, just for the sake of your job, to invest in a microphone that won't pick up these background noises. There are options available that you can invest in that really will dampen the sound and allow you to work without that stupid kid ruining your phone calls. So hopefully this message was delivered and your neighbor can do a better job of quieting down her kid. I just realized that my boyfriend and his wealthy father have been making fun of my dad's business, and I'm so heartbroken over what he said, and at this point I seriously don't know what to do. So I've been in a relationship with my boyfriend for 1 year, and everything is going really well so far. My dad owns a building company and has 30 employees, including me. I work in sales and customer support, and he founded the company in 2005, and since then we've been growing from a 2-man plumbing service to 30 employees doing all sorts of renovations. My boyfriend's family, on the other hand, comes from generational wealth. His dad was CEO to his parents' company, which has about 1,000 employees. When he turned 40 years old, he sold the business and reinvested the money into private equity, as well as stocks and other things, and also bought another company that he is currently managing. My boyfriend is currently doing his master's in business administration and working part-time in his dad's company. When I met his parents, we got along really well. We had interesting conversations, and they also told my boyfriend that they liked me. However, last week after a couple of beers, I realized that they don't take what my dad and I do very seriously at all. I told them that we are currently developing new advertisement strategies. His dad then asked me why we even need to advertise toilets, as people go to the bathroom all the time. He then started laughing loudly after he said that. They also made fun of the new car wrapping designs we came up with for some of our cars, but it became pretty clear to me that they only see us as a petty plumbing facility. But here's the thing, we make $6 million in sales volume every single year. We're not huge, but guess what? We're also not a small company. Generally, I realize that they are completely detached from the struggles of normal people, talking about lazy employees and how everyone has no drive to work anymore. His dad grew up rich, so I just think it is a bit weird to talk like that in his position. Should I confront my boyfriend? When we were alone, he never gave me that impression, but I am pretty hurt by what the both of them did together, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, the way they acted is so unbelievably toxic. Seriously, you saw true colors come out that day, and now you know exactly how they feel about you and your dad's business. They think of it as a joke, and it's clearly below them in some kind of way. And I honestly can't stand people who act like this, by the way. People who grew up really rich and have no idea of what it's like to struggle on a daily basis. The kind of people who, just like the original poster described, are so detached from reality that they wouldn't know hard work if it was staring them in the face. And that's seriously unfortunate. I mean, this is your boyfriend we're talking about. This is someone I'm willing to assume you want to have some kind of future with even marriage being a possibility in the future. So finding out exactly how he and your father feels about your company is incredibly unfair and so hurtful. So if I was in your shoes, I would really make it a point to have some kind of conversation. And I wouldn't even bother bringing up his father, because there's honestly not much you can do about that. But in contrast, you absolutely can say something to your boyfriend. And I know if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would avoid that conversation. What he said was incredibly disrespectful. You and your father work incredibly hard on that business, and for him to just basically stomp all over it just because he grew up wealthy is so unacceptable. And this doesn't have to be some big confrontation or anything like that. It can literally just be a conversation. You could say something like, hey, this was really unfair and really hurtful, and this really broke my heart that you said that about me and my father, and then just see where it goes from there. Because I would really want to have this addressed and figured out well before I even tried to move forward with them in a relationship. So hopefully this all works out and he can see where you're coming from, because based on what you described, his behavior is absolutely disgusting, and he 100% needs to apologize to you for the things he said about your business. An entitled sister-in-law tries to take credit for a large donation to a cancer fundraiser that we were running, and I've never been more blown away by somebody's selfish entitlement in my life. Here's what happened. So for a bit of context, my mother has a friend that has terminal cancer. She got diagnosed about a year ago or so, and it's recently went terminal. She only has a few months left, so her friends and family decided to have a fundraiser in her honor to help cover medical costs, any afterlife cost, and bucket list costs, as well as to help the family out after she passes. This lady is an amazing person. Everyone in town knows and loves her. She's a hairdresser and has been doing my mom's hair for ages. My mom has been a big part of the planning and fundraising for this event. There are a handful of this woman's friends and family taking a hand in it. However, most of them live an hour or so away, so the businesses and the people they are getting donations donations from are not our town and they don't know anyone. So my mom took it upon herself to call nearly every business in town, family-owned shops and restaurants, chain shops and restaurants, travel agencies, insurance agencies, big places of employment, etc., as well as donations from the general public. She even got our local Walmart to donate some money. She's gotten everything from small items to gift cards to whole baskets and massages, as well as discounts, while also getting our local airport to donate 2 30-minute airplane rides around our county. And the latest place to donate was our bowling alley. The guy who runs and owns the place is amazing. He also coaches both of our high school bowling teams. When my mom called, he said that he's going to take a bit to think about what to donate because he wants to do something other than just a free bowl or two. He ended up ordering 2 new bowling balls and is donating them along with 2 one-hour bowling parties for 10 bowlers. And that's like a $400 donation overall at least. So anyways, he told her last week when he called to confirm what he's donating to call back in a week just to check if it's in and if she can come by and pick it up. She's been posting thank you notes on Facebook for the donators and telling what they've donated to kind of give a peek at what the auction baskets will include. So she called today to ask if it's in as well as when she can come and pick it up. But she was then informed that somebody already did. And it's right about now that we realized that things were absolutely not as they seemed. Now, my mom was not made aware that someone else was picking it up. She posted about the donation on Facebook and added it in the group chat that they have for friends and family. No one outside of this private chat knew that she had not picked them up yet. She messaged them all, asking if one of them had grabbed it and forgot to tell her about it, but they all had no clue what she was talking about. We thought that maybe some jackwagon saw the post and decided to take it for themselves. I called the owner and I asked them if he knew who picked up the stuff, and he said it was Jessica. Jessica is not her real name. He said that since she was family, he thought that we had sent her. My mom texted the group chat asking if anyone knew who Jessica was, and it turns out that she is the woman's husband's sister. This sister is not in any of the group chats and has not attended any of the meetings regarding the fundraiser or the planning. The woman's daughter is in the group chat and is very active in the planning and the fundraising. She called her mom and asked if she had heard from the sister and if she had seen the bowling balls or the certificates, and her mom said that the sister brought them to her home, saying that she got this huge donation from the bowling alley. Now, none of the donations have been going to her house. We don't want to clutter up her house and cause her stress trying to plan, so the friends and family have been keeping the stuff at our houses until the time for the fundraiser. So there's no other reason for her to take them to her house other than to try and take credit for what was done. I just don't understand why she would take it upon herself to go pick up a huge donation that she didn't even take part in without telling my mother, you know, the one who got the donation, that she didn't need to go pick it up because she had covered it already. She took it straight to the woman's house without asking the group that's planning where they're storing the donations. And she didn't tell anyone that she took it. She doesn't even live in our town. She literally lives 30 minutes away. So she had to go so out of her way to pick this up. She took this to her sister-in-law's house, trying to take credit for this huge donation when she hasn't put in a lick of work to this fundraiser, and left us worried that someone just took our donation and ran off with it. And honestly, with all things considered, I am so disgusted by Jessica's entitlement. Wow, that really does seem like she was trying to take credit for something she didn't do. I thought at first she was gonna try and steal the donation and maybe sell it, but thankfully she just wanted to be a selfish jerk and try and show off for something she literally had no part in. Also, I hope you put some details in that group chat and explain that, yeah, Jessica did something stupid and basically exposed her for the jerk that she is. Listen, if you want to be involved, then be involved, but don't just swoop in and be like, wow, look at this donation I got for you. That's really stupid and incredibly entitled, and also really selfish. It's like she just completely forgot the reason for this entire thing. So thankfully this wasn't stolen, and thankfully this is just the case of Jessica trying to act stupid, as well as trying to take credit for something that she had no part in. That is honestly disgusting, and hopefully the rest of this fundraiser goes off without any other problems. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My entitled dad is constantly overstepping my boundaries, as well as making my life a living nightmare. And after decades of dealing with his intrusive behavior, I'm honestly at the end of my rope, and I honestly don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, to start things out, everyone in my family makes excuses for his constant BS. They give him the benefit of the doubt, they call his actions neurotic, instead instead of calling them problematic, my one sister is always quick to remind me of his other qualities that make him a good dad. If I dare try to express and seek some validity in feeling betrayed by how he can treat me. For 34 years, I've tolerated his egregious behavior, and I'm deciding that I have finally hit my limit. And this is how I hit my breaking point. He cut down my gorgeous hibiscus like a complete lunatic. Did he steal it? I'm honestly still trying to wrap my head around it, and I'm trying to figure out what happened and why he did it. Now, for some context, my husband and I, as well as my baby, were walking around the yard before her bedtime tonight. It was already dark, and my husband, who usually doesn't notice much in life, actually noticed that my favorite flowering bush was not there. We live in a northern state and have already gotten frost, but this sweet miracle of a hardy hibiscus was still flourishing. It was perfection. There were 5 open flowers, big beautiful candy swirled blooms, but now it was gone. The whole plant cut clean at the base. My parents had just left earlier in the afternoon from visiting for an entire 2 days. They refused to ever stay long, but this was by far the shortest visit ever, and they live nearly 5 hours away. They also refused to stay at our house, always demanding to get a hotel. So all in all, me and my baby got to actually see them for maybe a combined 3 hours, and it was mostly my mom. My dad doesn't participate in quality time, because you know what? It doesn't serve him. He stays outside on his phone the whole time or runs errands, or he just messes and modifies my garden. He usually just puts down more plants and flowers, but he's planted over tulip buds before, and mowed my wildflowers not fully bloomed yet, all because he doesn't ask and he doesn't think he needs to. He just does what he wants, and if I take issue with it, he responds as if I'm a jerk who has a lot of nerve to even care about their garden in the first place. I mean, I don't tend to it all summer and really care about what comes out of the ground and how it looks like, and because he's here very briefly, maybe 5 times a year, he thinks that he deserves to call all the shots about a property that he doesn't own. And if it gives me more work instead of helps me out, well, I'd better eat glass before I mention so. And this is not the only thing he's ever done in my life. Trust me, there's a long list of all the weird things he's done. For starters, he once took my car to get a tune-up while I was sleeping without my consent, and he threw away so much necessary paperwork, as well as an unused gift card, a couple of my daughter's toys that he said were too dirty to be worth saving, but also just cleaned it out of stuff that maybe I might have wanted, like air fresheners or pens. He just thought that I should be grateful and not inquire further or act as if those items mattered in the first place. He's also thrown away everything in my fridge that was opened, or not to his standard. So if it's a brand that he doesn't like a certain brand of mayonnaise, he will just replace it all with a better product that he likes. He's also taken my dog to get groomed without her proof of rabies vaccination, while also doing it without me knowing that he was going, because my dad is only on brand if he doesn't ask my permission first. He called me up while I was at work, yelling and cussing about how I need to get my vet to call the groomer ASAP because he's too old to be dealing with this kind of garbage, and that I should have her tags updated, while also trying to be like, wow, your dog's such a pain in the neck, I don't have time for this. But you know what? I did do exactly as I was told, and I probably apologized instead of just hanging up on him. One time when I was visiting them, he decided I was drinking too much coffee, so he replaced the regular coffee grounds with decaf. One evening, I saw a decaf bag of coffee in the cereal cabinet, and I thought to myself, okay, decaf, whatever, and I went to make a pot because, you know, I'm an adult who recognizes her biology and doesn't drink caffeine after a certain time. I mean, it's as if I'm a fully grown adult and I've been on the earth for almost 30 years at this point. Well, as you can probably guess, my dad stopped me and started to laugh and told me that I couldn't have it. He just kept saying that it was special and wouldn't fess up as to why. My mom told me what he had done after he started getting agitated that I wouldn't drop it. And when I acted horrified at his actual entitlement to try and monitor my coffee consumption, he threw his hands in the air and told me that I've got to take better care of myself, all while walking out of the room and basically ending any kind of discussion before it started. But that brings me back to my main point. I have no idea why my dad cut down my hibiscus. I mean, I didn't even know he was in the garden while he was here. He's so sneaky for literally zero reason. It wasn't in their car when they left. I mean, did he give it to somebody? Truly, I can't think of who would even want that. I mean, did he plant it somewhere else? If he wanted a couple of flowers, I would have without any hesitation given him some. But apparently, it's beneath him to ask for anything. I'm honestly not sure how or when I want to inquire about what happened to it. I could go on the offensive, I could finally disengage once and for all, no warning and no discussion, but I think that I'm just too cut down for that though. It's like he knows who I am, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, I'm surprised you still let them near your property. If I was in your shoes, the first thing I would do is call them up and say, hey, what happened to my hibiscus tree? And I would call the dad directly. I would say to him, listen, I need to know if you did something to my back garden, because if it wasn't you, I need to call the police and make a report. I mean, come on, that is practically destruction of property, or at least some kind of vandalism against your back garden. And then hopefully he can fess up to something that he might have done. And I'm willing to bet that he's the one that messed with your hibiscus tree. He probably went in there and did something to it, chopped it down because he didn't like it, or just straight up stole it. And with your dad's track record, I honestly would not be surprised if he did that. But here's the thing, if I was in your shoes and he really did do this, I would no longer allow him back on my property. I would say this is the final straw. I'm not allowing you near my family or my property ever again. And honestly, it really sounds like you need to start standing up for yourself. Your dad's been trying to exert his control over you your entire life. He's been messing with your dog, your car. He's been trying to monitor how much coffee you drink. He will just throw away things and replace it with what he likes. It's all incredibly intrusive and so unfair. Like for reference, the original poster is 34 years old. I think it's about time to stand up for yourself and not allow anybody to push you or your family around anymore. Honestly, the next thing I would do, since he clearly can't be trusted at your house, is to set up cameras all over your property. Maybe even change your locks if he has a key to your house. Like, this guy sounds incredibly intrusive, and obviously we can't put it beyond him that he might try to break into your house or into your back garden again. So hopefully you can learn how to stand up for yourself and try and defend your property and your house, because your dad sounds like an awful piece of work, and I honestly think if you let this slide again, he will just keep coming back to mess with you more. My entitled brother ruins my birthday by showing up to my Airbnb and getting absolutely plastered, causing a massive scene in front of me and my friends, as well as spoiling the entire night. And I'm honestly so blown away by his entitlement, as well as his lack of control over his addictions. Here's what happened. So I'm a 24-year-old female, and I celebrated my birthday earlier this year. From my 18th birthday until now, something has always happened on my birthday that ends up ruining the day for me. I made it a point this year to plan and do things I enjoyed on my day. I ended up renting an Airbnb by the lake about an hour away from where I was living. I invited about 8 people to come spend the weekend there with me, and my birthday was on a Sunday, so I had the Airbnb from Friday night to Monday morning. My friends and I had made plans for Friday and Saturday, but what I was most excited for was Sunday, my actual birthday. I decided I wanted to have a cookout. I wanted to get completely smashed. I wanted to smoke and just have a good time. My friends and I made a menu, we planned who was cooking what, and I even invited a few other people to come drop by for the day. I was excited, and everything was going good. Well, earlier on Sunday, my brother, who's 37 years old, called me to wish me a happy birthday. Now, me and my brother don't have the best relationship. I have 2 brothers, but I'm only on speaking terms with one. Both of my brothers are addicts with mental health issues that are fueled by their addiction. The brother that called me has been in and out of jails, rehabs, psych wards, and much more ever since I was 10 years old. And this has taken a huge toll on me and my family, and as a result, me and my brother have had periods where we do not speak, and this has gone on for years at some point. However, when he called me on my birthday, we were kind of in an okay place. He asked me what I had planned, and I told him I rented an Airbnb, and my friends and I were cooking out. Instantly, I realized that was a bad idea, because he took that as an opportunity to invite himself. He kept asking for the address, and I first let him know that all my friends were under the age of 26, so he would be very much out of place. But even still, he still insisted on coming along. Then I was brutally honest and told my brother I didn't want him to come here and ruin my birthday. My brother's current biggest temptation was alcohol. He was doing other things, but he was also mixing that with getting drunk every day. And when my brother drinks and does his substances, he ruins things. But he promised me that he wouldn't say anything to upset me and that he wouldn't drink too much. I tried for about 30 minutes to get him to not come, but he continued to insist. And at that point, I just wanted to start enjoying my day. So I sent him the address and I told him to let me know when he was on his way. And this proved to be a massive mistake. I start cooking by the time my brother calls to let me know that he's coming. He says that his friend is bringing him there and also coming along for the party. And this was strike one. My brother only has friends who are addicts just like him, who are also his age. So I just knew this was going to be an issue. While we were cooking, I noticed that we didn't purchase enough hamburger buns and we had cheese for the burgers. So I asked my brother if he could stop on the way over here and pick some up from the store. He then tells me to send him $20 for groceries, and that honestly was strike number 2. When he arrives, he immediately gets out of the car, and I can already tell he's been drinking. He is slurring his words, but he's in decent spirits, so I just let it go. I meet his friend, who is exactly what I described above, and I take them inside to meet my friends. My brother asks where the drinks are, and I show him the bottles in the fridge, and asked him if he needed me to pour him a drink. And so I went ahead and did just that. Now, keep in mind, we had maybe 4 bottles left at the time. 2 communal bottles, 1 bottle that was one of my friends, and 1 bottle that was actually mine. I had one that was specifically mine because I knew nobody else drank this particular brand, but also it was my birthday. So I got what I wanted, and I poured my brother a drink out of this bottle. This was also the first drink from that bottle that I poured that day. I had been cooking after all, so I didn't even have an opportunity to start drinking yet. Everyone eventually goes out back to smoke, and I hear my brother walk out back. He then proceeds to tell my friends, "I don't smoke, but my friend does. Make sure y'all pass him the J while it's in motion." So my brother was expecting my friends to smoke his friend out for free, especially when they didn't bring anything for themselves. And that was strike 3. My brother then starts making little comments about my outfit, making that strike 4. He starts telling me that I need to go change because my outfit is too revealing and he simply won't drop it. I keep letting him know that this is my birthday and it's my Airbnb, while also saying that he did not have to be here if he didn't want to. I also explained that his comments were unnecessary and they were killing the vibe, but he still continued. He then started making comments about my boyfriend, who had run out to grab something for me. My brother isn't a fan of my boyfriend, but I don't really care. My brother has no authoritative power over me to tell me anything about anyone. I then reminded him before he came along that he promised he wouldn't be any trouble. And he then said, as my big brother, he's allowed to say whatever he wants. This eventually turned into a big argument where I let him know that he had one more time to upset me on my birthday and then he would have to leave. But he said that I couldn't kick him out. He continued arguing until some of my friends calmed me down and I went outside with them to have a smoke. I eventually came back inside to have a drink because, I kinda need it right now, and my entire personal bottle was empty. I mean, it went from a full bottle to not even a sip left in less than 1 hour. I immediately started flipping out, and I find my brother and I start going in on him. I start screaming about how he's been nothing but a nuisance since he called this morning, how this is why I hate hanging out with him and inviting him to places, and on top of that, all I wanted for my birthday was my bottle, and he decided to finish off the entire thing. His only defense was that there were 3 other bottles in the fridge, and he didn't think that it was that big of a deal. How I know how high his alcohol tolerance is, and how that tiny drink I poured didn't do anything, and he was just trying to calm down after our previous argument. Then he said to me, and I quote, "Can't your friends just buy you another one?" But guess what? It's Sunday. I live in a state that doesn't serve alcohol on Sundays, and on top of that, the Airbnb was in the middle of nowhere. At that point, I absolutely lost it. I told him he had to leave, and if he didn't leave, my friends were putting him out. I called his girlfriend and told her that she needed to tell my brother to get out before things got really ugly. His friend tried to plead his case, while my brother sat in the car saying nothing to me, but I wasn't hearing it. I literally would not stop yelling until they were off the property. Once they finally left, I just started crying so hard. It was the only thing I could do at the time. I cried, I let it all out, and then I had a great rest of my birthday. When my boyfriend got back, he heard about the bottle, and I don't know how, but he left for an hour and a half and came back with an entire crate of alcohol. It wasn't the specific brand that I had previously, but I still really appreciated the effort. The food was great, and my friend showed me so much love. And after it was all said and done, I didn't speak to my brother for several months. He refused to apologize because he didn't think he did anything wrong. He thought I was unfairly picking on him because of our history. But overall, this is a lesson learned, and I certainly won't let this happen to me ever again. Wow, your brother sounds awful. He literally swooped in and ruined your birthday. He chugged all your drinks, he made a massive scene, and he did everything that he promised that he wouldn't do. And that really is a shame. Here you are going out on a limb and thinking, well, maybe your brother won't be an idiot this time. But boy, did he prove you wrong. He came in and he practically spoiled the evening. And that's not fair for you. You really did not deserve that. But also, with that in mind, I really hope you don't cave in to your brother's demands ever again. Like, you knew in your gut he was gonna act like this. When he called up asking for the address, you knew exactly how he was gonna act. You knew he was gonna try and ruin your night, and you knew that this was not gonna end well, but you did it anyways. And that is seriously unfortunate. So please, for the sake of your own sanity, don't let your brother get involved in anything like this ever again. Don't be a doormat for his own guilt tripping, and don't allow him to steal any more special special moments in your life because the way he acted was so unfair, and you absolutely did not deserve to be treated the way that you did. My husband demanded a paternity test after my newborn daughter didn't look anything like him. And after getting treated like garbage by my husband and his extended family, I finally caved and got the paternity test just to prove once and for all that I was not unfaithful to my husband. And now my husband and his extended family are feeling extremely guilty and apologetic for what they did. But at this point, I am so hurt over the situation that I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. My husband and I have 3 children. Our sons look exactly like him, dark skin and dark eyes and hair, but our daughter doesn't. She looks exactly like my great-grandparents, really pale blonde and green-eyed, but apparently he didn't think it was possible that our daughter could look like my great-grandparents, and from the moment he saw her, he told me he wanted a paternity test. At first, I refused because I felt it was humiliating and because I didn't think it was necessary, because I never cheated on him, and I hoped that he would trust me, but he didn't. And for the first 2 months of our daughter's life, he made my life a nightmare. He didn't want to hold her, even if she cried desperately while I was doing something else. He never woke up at night to help me with her. He never helped me with anything, and that hurt me so much, because with our boys, he was completely different. He helped me all the time with absolutely everything, and he was always there for me after giving birth. But this time, he left me alone, and it was the worst experience of my life. I have no family here, and his entire family, from the moment they saw my daughter, turned their backs on me. I don't have any friends here either, so it was just my daughter and me. She is a colicky baby, so it was very difficult for me to do everything alone, and on top of that, to help with our sons. I decided to do the paternity test because one day his entire family came to our house to celebrate my son's birthday, and no one spoke to me, and they didn't want to include my daughter in the photos that my in-laws took of all the grandchildren, so I knew it was stupid to keep waiting for them to come to their senses. Well, the paternity test came back positive, and everyone was shocked, and of course they felt guilty for not having believed me. Everyone apologized, and my husband even cried when he held our daughter in his arms for the first time, and I know that his apologies were genuine, and that's why I forgave him, but I don't know if I can forgive his family. They treated me really badly, and they said some horrible things about me just a few days after giving birth, and I cannot forget their insults or violence. My husband knows that I don't want to see his family, nor do I want them anywhere near our children, and he told his family as well. So these last 3 months, it has been just the 5 of us, but it doesn't feel as good as I expected. My husband is constantly apologizing and crying every time he holds our daughter, and I am getting tired of this situation. I want us to be happy as we were before, so how can we move on? My husband suggested that we should start going to couples therapy, but I mean, how much can therapy even help in this situation? What should I do? This is honestly insane to me. I can't imagine my spouse or even my extended family turning on me like that, all under the assumption that I cheated in some kind of way. Like seriously, that is incredibly insulting. Like literally, no one would believe you. Your husband even was under the assumption, yeah, you cheated. This kid is not mine. They've got green eyes. Like seriously, what is going on here? I'm just gonna say it outright. That guy is an awful husband. His first thought when he saw his daughter is, oh wow, you cheated on me. There's no way that can be ours. Listen, buddy, genetics are weird. Kids can come out looking all different types of ways, regardless of a lot of different factors. So the fact that you would automatically jump to some conclusion that your wife obviously had to be cheating on you is honestly really disgusting. And the original poster did not deserve to go through with that. I can only imagine how humiliating that must have been. Like these people labeled you with a scarlet letter before you even had a chance to say no, that's not the case. And you know what? I don't blame you for saying no, I'm not getting a paternity test. I know the truth and I know that this is our child. And instead of stepping up and trying to listen to his wife, who, you know, he should be trusting, he decided to act like a complete clown. He literally turned everybody against you. He would purposefully not help with his daughter and then act like the best father ever with his sons, all to try and prove some kind of point that was completely wrong. And the fact that his extended family also acted this way is so inappropriate. I mean, they were intentionally trying to leave your kid out of pictures. Like, what is going on right now? That's so weird. Why would you intentionally ostracize a member of the family like that? And look, if you really want to forgive your husband, go for it. It really does seem from what you've described that he is really sorry for what happened. And he's incredibly apologetic, and he keeps crying every time he holds his daughter. He clearly sees the errors of his ways, and I think that is a really good sign in my opinion. But when it comes to the extended family, I don't blame you for being upset. I think you have every right to be angry at them. They ganged up on you. This very quickly quickly became a dog pile when all they needed to do was trust you in the first place. So truly, with all things considered, I don't blame you for cutting off that side of your family. They are incredibly toxic. They've shown their true colors if anything is even perceived to be wrong, and it's obvious that they, along with your husband, even though he's sorry, are very quick to make assumptions about you as a person. And that, in my opinion, is incredibly unacceptable. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. An entitled Karen walks up to me at work and tries to force me to babysit her child for over 3 hours. And I'm still in complete shock that this lady tried that in the first place. Here's what happened. So years ago, I worked in the office of an adult education center. We offered either a GED, an ESL, as well as US citizenship classes, and we had a lot of students coming and going at all hours. One morning, I was sitting at my desk, typing away when a young woman hurried over to me with a little girl around 4 years old, and then she just started walking away. Now, naturally, when she did this, I said to her, "Can I help you?" She looked rather annoyed as she told me she was in a hurry. Her class was about to start, and her babysitter had canceled at the last minute, so she needed me to watch her child. She said to me, "You could do that, right? It's only 3 hours after all." And when I heard that, I was completely flabbergasted. So I told her straight up no, I could not become her new babysitter. I had an actual job I was already doing. And even if for some crazy reason I did agree, what was I supposed to do with a preschooler for an entire morning? This kid didn't have any toys with her or literally anything to keep her entertained. I mean, did she expect her daughter to just sit in a chair watching me type the entire time? And the craziest part about it is that if I had not noticed in time and spoken up, I really believe that this woman would have left her daughter at my desk and then walked away without a single word. Now, I totally understand the predicament that the mom was in. I am not unsympathetic. But in what world do you simply toss your child in the direction of some random person with the expectation of free and instant childcare? And how does she even know who I am? Or if I'm somebody who has any business being around kids? I have no idea what the woman ended up doing, perhaps asking her instructor if the child could stay in their classroom, or else maybe just going back home. Because when I told her no, she stormed away without another word, clearly wanting to show me how unreasonable I was being, despite this lady seriously being insane if she thinks that I'm gonna watch her kid for over 3 hours. That is honestly so irresponsible as a parent. Like, what was this lady thinking? Did she really think, oh yeah, this person will watch my kid? Like, are you kidding me right now? Why would you go to a random person that you've never met, whether they work in the building or not, and be like, yeah, you're gonna watch my kid real quick? It will only be 3 hours. It's not that long. Like, lady, are you seriously that irresponsible with your children? You just have some random stranger watch them? And it's not like she even asked this person if they could watch her kid in the first place. They just walked up and said, okay, here you go, as if this is some kind of like open daycare service. That is crazy to me, and I honestly can't imagine doing that to your own child. My boyfriend seemingly wants people to think that he's single, despite the fact that we've been together for over a year. And now I'm really at a loss, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I've been with my boyfriend for over a year, and I'm currently living at his place. We've gone on trips together, I've met his friends and gone with him to social events, etc. But he is never affectionate in public, and people say that we look like we could just be friends. He also has never mentioned me or that he is in a relationship on social media, which is suspicious since he uses it regularly. And this is for personal use as well as work uses. And he doesn't like it if I put him on social media either. When I asked him about these things, he said he doesn't like public displays of affection. He doesn't want the relationship on social media because we will get trolled for our age gap, and he wants to keep it private. For reference, I'm 29 years old and my boyfriend is 39. Now, I think those are fair reasons, but I don't think they are honest. I mean, he showed his last relationship on social media without giving any info about his ex. He mentioned her name instead of tagging her and used pictures where you can't see her face. So I don't see why he can't do the same with me. I also think there's a difference between not liking public displays of affection and not touching your partner, so that people think you're casual or just friends. I think he's trying to give the impression that he is single on social media, or at least not in a serious relationship in the public eye. I don't think he's cheating or that I'm a side woman or anything like that, but we are together every night. And if there was someone else, there would have been signs by now. Can anyone explain what this is? Am I just overreacting or being insecure here? What should I do? Here's the thing, I don't think it's unreasonable for you to be like, hey, we're in a relationship in public, can we at least least pretend we're in a relationship. Like, the way he's acting is really weird. It's almost like he's trying to dodge the fact that the both of you are in a relationship together. Like, anytime you're in public, he doesn't, I don't know, put his arm around you or hold your hand, and you're not the only one that noticed. Like, friends have come up and said, wow, it kind of looks like you two are just friends. And that's not the case. You spend nights together, you're always together, and you're in a relationship. There's no reason why he can't show that to some degree. Now, when it comes to social media, I kind of understand where he's coming from. Maybe he's just a really private person or something like that. So to a certain degree, I can kind of understand where he's coming from. But when it comes to him basically trying to pretend like he's single in public, that, in my opinion, is very suspicious. And with that in mind, I really don't blame you for being upset about the way he's acting. My mother-in-law's entitled boyfriend treats me and my husband like garbage. And after trying to have a Thanksgiving dinner with them, we realized very quickly that we are not welcome. So we decided to leave. And I'm so glad we made that decision. Here's what happened. So this happened a few years ago. We were staying with my mother-in-law and her then boyfriend. I was job hunting every chance I got and writing stories in between. I was aware we were not welcome and we were staying in a guest room. Thanksgiving came, and while it wasn't that great, my parents wanted us to come up for the holiday. Our friend was also invited since his family was not in town. We were at the house talking to my mother-in-law's boyfriend's family. Their youngest was around our age and a gamer. He asked if he could play my hacked video game, which was fine, and we found out later we were being made fun of for having a game system and the games that we had. Sitting down, I realized something with the way we were being treated. My husband and I were being forced to eat last. All of my mother-in-law's boyfriend's family were allowed to eat first. I went to get a drink and was stared at because I was then asked by the mother-in-law's boyfriend, what are you doing? You have to wait until we're served. We are older. I said to them, I'm thirsty. And I then poured a can of soda out and went out to get my game system and games, basically unplugging it and taking it back to my room. My husband's friend took the cue that we weren't welcome. I asked to go to my parents and I called them up. We left after a small chat with a mother-in-law who was furious that we were made to eat the scraps of the meal. My parents and sisters heard about what happened and were not very impressed. My mother made a great effort to make everyone welcome at her table. She and my husband don't always get along, but he told her what was happening at the house since we were there. I was able to get a job the following week and also made it a mission to work every Thanksgiving to avoid this kind of garbage. I mean, seriously though, the Walmart I worked at had food catered for Thanksgiving, and that included most holidays. Since some of us had this experience, I was glad that my mother-in-law eventually broke up with that guy and also abandoned his family. The fact that they made fun of my husband and I for at least trying to work, and also gaming for me was a stress reliever. I never celebrated Thanksgiving ever since that incident, and honestly, I never will. I always make sure my work knows I work 90% of all holidays, and I don't like to overindulge. I also view this incident as a reason for me to be frugal. Wow, that guy's family sounds absolutely atrocious. Like, seriously, trying to make you eat last? Oh, you're not allowed to drink anything. We gotta get served first. Nope, actually, I'm not gonna do that. That's insane, and I'm not gonna put up with that. And honestly, if I was in your shoes, I would have done the exact same thing. I would have left that place immediately and gone literally anywhere else. I am not about to be made fun of by people who do not care about me, and I'm also not gonna be treated like a dog who can't get some food and eat. That's incredibly rude, and honestly, you do not deserve that in the slightest. Am I the jerk for locking the house up before I left to go to a party, and as a result, lock my roommate out of the house because they forgot their keys inside the house? Here's what happened. So I moved in with 4 friends at the beginning of this year for university. I brought up the importance of having a spare key, but everyone said it would be useless because there was always someone in the house. Well, as of last night, everything went down. Before I left, my roommate said that she was going to get sushi, and then my other roommate left for a cappella practice. I had a party for my fraternity that I needed to attend, so I got my things. I left the house and I locked the door behind myself, as I always do. Now, this is important because my roommates are terrible at remembering their keys and always forget to lock the door, even in the middle of the night when everyone is home. It's also important to note that nobody was home. So I'm at the party and my roommate calls me saying to let her in. I said I was occupied and to call the other roommates to see if they can help. She calls them up and apparently they offered to come and open the door for her or invite them to their locations. She turned them down, saying that it was my mistake for locking the door and that I should have left it unlocked for her. I mean, how was I supposed to know that she left her keys? Also, it was apparently my responsibility to rectify my mistake by letting her in. She contacted me again and I told her that I was occupied, but then I get a flurry of text messages calling me a jerk and saying that I can go get lost, and and I honestly thought that she was just venting, so I just turned off my phone and enjoyed the rest of the party. I got home and she begins to scream at me for locking her out, and then for not letting her back in, and forcing her to spend 2 hours outside on the porch steps in the cold. I asked her why she didn't get any of her other roommates, and she gave me the same speech about how it is my responsibility. Now, I am very avoidant of conflict, so I said to her, "I'm sorry that you were out in the cold, but your poor planning does not constitute an emergency for me." I then left, went to bed, and have spent the day in bliss. She has been giving me the cold shoulder ever since, and has said that she no longer wants to be friends with me. Now, I am concerned that she may be telling the truth, and I don't want to lose her as a friend, but I also don't want to walk on eggshells around someone like that. Am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Your roommate is a complete fool. You offered so many times, "Guys, we need a spare key for the house. We need some kind of security measure just in case nobody has a key." And then just fast forward to this situation, and lo and behold, this is exactly what's happening. So honestly, how is this your problem? Your stupid entitled roommate forgot her keys in the house, and then she's like, "No, you need to stop what you're doing to let me in." And she didn't blame any of the other roommates who didn't help her out. She only blamed you. She seriously tried to act like this was your fault all because you locked the door. Like, lady, are you crazy? Do you want to lose all of your belongings? I know if I lived there, I wouldn't want to lose my stuff. Leaving your house unlocked, especially on a university campus, is like a surefire way to get completely robbed. So no, you are not the jerk. You didn't do anything wrong. Your roommate is being an idiot, and hopefully next time she remembers to bring her keys, because the next time she gets locked out, it's absolutely not going to be your problem. My husband is going to an event, and he doesn't want me to go with him, but instead wants to go with a friend whom I've never met before. And at this point, I feel so hurt, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my husband and I were looking to go to a comedy show, but he decided against it because of the cost. His friend has messaged him today asking to go with him, so now they are going together. He asked if I'm upset about it, which I said I really wanted to go as well, but we didn't purchase tickets because he said it was too expensive. And I also said that I felt left out. Now, I've never met this friend. I've offered to have them come over to our house for food or drinks, and my husband said that his friend wouldn't want to. I've also asked to hang out when they've gone to play pool or something else that my husband wanted to do, but he has always said no. I get him wanting to spend time with his friends alone, and that's fine. I just find it a bit weird. I've never met him, and seemingly the friend has no interest in meeting me. They don't meet up that often, so it's not something I've pushed for. The friend is of a different culture, and I don't know how much that plays into it though. My husband has said the friend is into comedy, and that's why he's going with him. But I'm into comedy too. We watch the same stuff and we like the same people. I mean, we went to another comedian's thing earlier in the year and really enjoyed it. The comedian thing has really made me feel pretty bummed out, honestly. I would have liked to go with my husband to see it, and my husband keeps asking if I'm upset, and I've said that I've told him exactly how I feel about it. So how do I get over the feelings of being ditched and left behind? What should I do? Honestly, that's really mean of your husband. He really should have bought you a ticket as well and said, "Hey, I changed my mind, let's go do this." Like, it really seems like he wants to spend more time with his friend instead of spending time with, I don't know, his wife. Like, that is so rude and so unacceptable. I don't blame you for being upset. If my significant other went to a comedy show without me, especially one that we had already planned on going to, but they canceled last minute because of the cost, I would feel very tricked, very betrayed, and basically worthless. So I don't blame you for feeling this way, and if anything, I really would have a conversation with them and let them know exactly how you feel. It's also worth mentioning, just from my perspective, that this supposed friend that doesn't want to be around you really kind of sounds like a sketchy situation. I mean, you've never even met this person. Why on earth would he want to go somewhere alone without you being there? That, in my opinion, is really sketchy, and honestly, with all things considered, I think the way he went about doing this was incredibly rude. Am I the jerk for keeping the engagement ring that my now dead fiance gave to me after he proposed to me before his accident? Because after his family came storming up to my door demanding that I hand the ring over, I'm honestly at a loss and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So for the sake of this story, my fiance who passed away will be called John. This was not his real name, and this all started about 4 years ago. I was engaged to John after dating for 4 years. When he proposed, the ring he used was 2 sizes too big. We went to the store that he bought it from 2 weeks before proposing, and he kept the receipt. We ended up getting the right size and kept the same style. We did plan to have a wedding after 3 years of planning and saving. 10 months after the proposal, John passed away in a car accident. I used the savings from the wedding to pay for his funeral. The day after the funeral, John's brother came to me asking for the ring. I asked why, and his response was that the ring had been passed down through their family for 5 generations. But I told him that was BS, because I have proof that the ring was bought for me less than a year ago. We argued a bit back and forth, and then he stormed off. Then I get calls from John's family saying that I'm a liar and they're still demanding the ring. Then I got a letter from their lawyer, and in the letter they also demanded that I reimburse them for the cost of John's funeral. So I got myself a lawyer, showed the proof about the ring, and that I paid for the funeral. And fast forward once we go to court, and I'm the one that comes out as the winner. Now I thought that madness was over. That is until John's sister recently messaged me. She and her boyfriend are engaged, but haven't gotten a ring, and she wants John's ring for her wedding. After I said no, she went crazy and has been messaging me nonstop, basically demanding that I give over that ring. I have blocked her over and over again, but she finds ways around it constantly. In fact, I was having brunch with my friend, and my mobile was on the table. A message from my sister popped up, and my friend saw it. My friend knows about everything before my sister's first message. I explained the messages to her, and my friend believes that I'm the jerk, and I should just give her the ring. She ended up telling my other friends, and they are all saying the same things. But now I'm kind of doubting myself, and at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Honestly, I would not talk to anybody else about this. I would go straight to my lawyer. You are literally being harassed by greedy and lying people. They seriously try to look at you and be like, that's been passed down in our family for generations. And yet you were there, you've already been to court over this, and you've got proof that he bought it for you. Like seriously, that's such a horrible thing to try and do, it's not even funny. Like think about it for a second. They waited one day until they could ask and be like, hey, you want to give us back that ring? All while coming up with this bogus story. And when it comes to your friend basically turning on you and trying to be like, wow, how could you do this to them? While also convincing the rest of your friends to basically be like, yeah, you're the jerk. Those people suck and you do not need them in your life. In my opinion, I don't think you've done anything wrong. I think you have all the proof in the world to say, hey, you know what? This ring is mine and I'm not going to give it over. So hopefully this can all be resolved in some kind of safe way, because the way John's extended family is acting is really weird, and you do not deserve to be treated this way in the slightest. An entitled Karen and her teenage daughter tried to steal my purse at an estate sale, claiming that this item is actually up for sale and that they deserve it since they grabbed it first. And I'm honestly so blown away by how ambitious they were in trying to rob me. Here's what happened. So for starters, I like going to estate sales when I have some free time. I'm at an estate sale that had other people also shopping, but it wasn't particularly crowded. So a girl about 15 or 16 years old was following me around the various rooms pretty closely, which was a bit weird because the house wasn't that crowded. If I stopped to look at something or pick something up, as soon as I moved a little bit, she would look at or pick up the same item. It was a little bit odd, but nothing too strange. So I stopped to pick up a vintage purse, but my own purse kept slipping off my shoulder because the shirt I was wearing had a slick texture. So I took my purse off of my shoulder and I set it down directly in front of me on a chest of drawers. The girl reaches in front of me so close that she knocked into my arm and grabs it. I immediately grabbed the strap, but she didn't let go. We then engaged in a slight tug of war because, hello, I'm not about to let my purse get stolen. The girl's mother, who had also been shopping around, but not staying particularly close to either of us, begins loudly stating that her daughter picked up the purse first and it was under the rules of the estate sales, meaning that her daughter gets first dibs on it and for me to let it go. I tell her that it's my personal purse, not an item for sale, and I refuse to let go. The woman just keeps repeating the rules of the estate sale, like they are somehow making a royal proclamation louder and louder. Eventually, she angrily is yelling over me. The girl and I are still engaged in a tug of war because I'm not letting my purse get stolen. The mom gets loud enough that 2 employees of the estate sale company come in to see what the ruckus is about. Mom keeps giving her royal proclamation that her daughter picked up the purse first and that I'm trying to steal the purse from her. One of the employees starts to politely tell me the etiquette of the estate sales. I listen, and then, just as politely, I tell her that this purse isn't for sale. It's my personal purse, filled with my personal items, that I walked into this place with, and I refuse to let the girl steal it from me. The employee asks for both of us to release the purse so that she can pick it up. She then gets my permission to open it, takes out my wallet, and looks at my driver's license. She tells the mom that purse is mine, it's not for sale, and that you need to give it back to me. The mother lets out a really loud sigh. She then grabs her daughter by the arm and then leaves. No apology or acknowledgement that either she or her daughter were were in the wrong. In retrospect, I wonder if the daughter may have had a mental disability, but even if she did, it wasn't obvious from my limited interactions with her. I just couldn't believe the mom was so entitled that she didn't even bother to get the facts straight or even try to investigate after I told her that the purse absolutely was mine. Wow, what is wrong with people? They really came up and was like, yep, this purse is mine. This stupid brat absolutely saw you put that purse down that was on your shoulder, and then she decided to reach for it and be like, oh man, I got it, this is mine. Like, it kind of makes me believe that this is probably their scam. They go to these types of things, and the second someone puts something down, they then try to fight the person over the purse. Why else would this teenager be following you all around this house, basically tailing you at every turn? She was probably planning on robbing you from the very beginning. Like, her behavior really does point in that direction. And also, what kind of mother would defend their child taking somebody's purse? If I had a kid who was fighting a grown adult over their purse, I would tell them, wait a second, stop doing that. What's wrong with you? I wouldn't be like, ooh, you gotta hand that over. Give us the purse. That comes off as super sketchy, and that is not something I would deal with in the slightest. So good for you for standing your ground. There's no way if I was in your situation, I would willfully hand over that purse to those people, because clearly they had ulterior motives. And I'm willing to bet that if you did let go of your purse, they probably would have taken it and then run off to their car before you can even try and stop them. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. This next story comes from the Am I the Jerk subreddit. Check the links in the description if you would like to submit your own story. Am I the jerk for not having respect for my mother, even though she demands that I give it to her, despite never giving me any in the first place? Here's what happened. So, for a little bit of background, I was diagnosed with a mild form of autism at a very young age, and have been diagnosed with many other things over the years, and I've never been quite understood in the way I act or talk. That being said, about a year before my 18th birthday, I was released from juvie on a misdemeanor charge, which was eventually dropped, and a few months after that, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, which was the cause of the outburst that landed me in several hospitals throughout my state, and then eventually into the juvie system. Due to not being diagnosed before my major outburst, I was not on any medicine for it, nor was I really aware of what was wrong with me, besides a severe form of depression that had lingered for about 7 years prior, nor had I taken any proper therapy, as there wasn't, as far as I knew, anything to treat. After being diagnosed with what I hope is my final problem, I've since used the last year to attend therapy, take proper medication, and have also graduated high school and gotten a job to save for college, all while paying my mother an absurd amount of rent compared to what she paid for an actual apartment not too long ago. Since I have been released from corrections, despite actively making efforts to better myself and be a good citizen, I am still treated as a hardened criminal by my mother, who claims to always put me and my brother above everything else, even though she hasn't even as much texted my brother, who we will call John, that's not his real name, in the last 3 years. To top it all off in the grandest of ways, my mother demands respect that I tell her she does not give me. Therefore, I feel I do not owe her anything. I will always love and respect my mom for raising me and taking the steps she needed to when I was younger. But am I the jerk for losing that respect with the way she treats me? What should I do? I don't think you're totally the jerk here. I really do think there's a lot of nuance to what's going on, and obviously there's a lot of things that we as the audience can't possibly know. So no, in my opinion, I don't think you're the jerk. I think there's a lot going on here, and I don't blame you for the way that you feel. A crazy entitled Karen tries to force me to babysit her kids, despite the fact that I've never met this woman in her life, and her kids looked incredibly scared. And I'm honestly still blown away by this experience. Here's what happened. So to start things out, I was reading another post online that reminded me of something that happened to me before that was pretty similar. And as the title suggests, some random lady tried to get me to babysit her kids. And I guess the lady assumed that because I was a mom, I owed her to watch the kids for her. So anyways, for a bit of context, this happened to me many years ago when my daughters were just babies. I was on a leisurely stroll around my apartment complex. My baby was in the stroller, and my toddler was walking around with me. We looked at grass, rocks, butterflies, and all this other stuff as we walked around. It was really nice. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a woman backs her car up to me and jumps out pointing at me. She starts to scream, you babysit for me, okay? Now, when she said this, I was really stunned, and I didn't even know what to say. She didn't even give me time to answer her, and she moved incredibly quickly as she opened up her back doors and her trunk. She was grabbing out little zipper lunch coolers, as well as blankets and I think a few toys. Her young kids were also getting out of the car looking really scared. This all looked incredibly sketchy. And then this lady said, "You babysit my kids and I will pay you." But I looked at her and I said, "No, I don't know you. And you definitely don't know me. Also, your kids don't know me." But she still insisted. She said to me, "But I made their lunches," and then tried to hand me the lunch coolers. She said, "Look, I'll just pay you, okay?" And when she said this and tried to do this, I was blown away. So I insisted, "No, I'm not gonna watch your kids for you. I don't even know you." But she obviously was not listening. She said to me, "Okay, well then just babysit them for today then. I'll pay you." But then it made me think, how long did this stranger actually expect me to watch her kids? I said no to her again, and then eventually I just walked away. And as I was walking away, she was still yelling out to me, trying to get me to babysit her kids, while I rushed away best I could with my kids in my arms. And the worst part about it is that I had never seen this woman before in my life around my apartment complex. And even to this day, I'm still blown away by the way this lady acted, and I seriously can't believe that she tried to get me to babysit her kids. That is insane. Like, quite literally, this lady stopped on the side of the road, pointed at the first person they saw, and said, "Here you go ahead and watch them for me. Here's their lunches, snacks, and some toys. Don't worry, I'm gonna pay you. Have fun." Like, what was she gonna do if you did decide to watch those kids? Speed off into the distance? Because based on the way she was acting, it kind of seems like she was gonna ditch her kids and run off into the distance. Like, this lady literally did not know you. She didn't know you from anywhere, and she's literally rolling up towards you, trying to demand that you watch her kids. That, in my opinion, is super sketchy, and it's probably the best move you could have made by walking away and trying to get away from her, because that lady was clearly crazy, and I don't see anything good coming from that interaction. Am I the jerk for confronting my best friend's fiance about not involving me in wedding preparations? Here's what happened. So I've been best friends with my friend Aiden since high school. I'm a 30-year-old female and Aiden is 30 years old. Aiden is also not his real name. When I say friends, I mean it. I contemplated him as a dating prospect for a bit in college, but figured it wouldn't go anywhere, so I never pursued it. I can't say if he ever had the same feelings. I mean, we honestly never discussed it. Aiden's been dating Jessica for about 3 years, and Jessica is also not her real name. I'm happy for them, but I must admit, Jessica and I never truly warmed up to each other. She wasn't a girl I pictured Aiden to end up with. She comes from a wealthy family and is always put together. Aiden is middle class and very outdoorsy. I do feel at times Aiden prioritized their relationship over his other friendships, but I can understand why at times. However, things have started to change a bit for the worse. Aiden and I would always discuss how we wanted to be involved in each other's weddings, and this included the planning process. Aiden is going to have me be a groomwoman, which I'm assuming Jessica is fine with. I mean, we've been chatting about bachelor parties, and he's come up with what I consider to be a strict list, and I'm assuming that it's Jessica's doing. What has really been bothering me is that Jessica isn't letting me be involved in wedding dress shopping. I asked Aiden to suggest me being involved since I'm someone who knows him best. I want her to look fantastic for him that day, and I know that Aiden would prefer some styles over others. Jessica reached out to me, and while she appreciated my offer to come along, she said that she was keeping it small and really only wanted her mom, her grandmother, and her maid of honor there with her. I texted her that I understand that, but I felt that I was important enough to be there as well because I can give her an idea of what Aiden would want. She responded to me that she and Aiden had discussed things ahead of time, and while he has preferences, he also said that she would look great in anything. This was one of the biggest choices for her to make. I called her selfish and said that it seems to me that the only one making choices in the relationship was her, and that she didn't seem to care about Aiden's feelings at all. She didn't respond to me after that, but I got a call from Aiden asking me what in the world had gotten into me. I told him what happened, and he told me that what I did was unacceptable, and he needed a few days to cool down and process things. He told me to not call or text him at all, and be prepared that I may be uninvited from the wedding because that is his first instinct. I'm devastated, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen. My friends, who are also Aiden's friends, think that I wasn't out of line, but other people think that I do. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? I'm gonna be completely honest here, but wow, yes, you are absolutely out of line here, and you are really being a massive jerk. You are overstepping your boundaries and getting in the way of their marriage. You do realize that Aiden is getting married to Jessica, right? He's not getting married to you or anybody else. So the fact that you would be like, wait a second, I want to be there for dress shopping, and then you go ahead and call the bride selfish when she's like, no, I don't know you and I don't want you there. That, in my opinion, is awful. Seriously, what in the world were you thinking? If I was Aiden in this situation, I would be mortified that my best friend is acting that way. Like, sure, you may have known him longer, and you might have a good idea of what he would and wouldn't like, but he is not marrying you. He's marrying Jessica, and it's her decision what she wants to wear on her wedding day. Like, why on earth would you try to be involved in that and try and boss her around as if she doesn't talk to Aiden almost every single day? Like, this is so unacceptable, and I would probably uninvite you from the wedding as well if I was in Aiden's shoes. This is really weird and very controlling, and you really should not have done that. So yes, I really do think you're the jerk, and I think if I was in your shoes, I would definitely be apologizing to Aiden. I would say I'm sorry for what happened, and then just accept whatever decision he makes, because at the end of the day, it's his wedding and Jessica's wedding, and you have no say in what does or doesn't happen at this wedding. I think that I may have ruined my relationship when I called out my boyfriend for lying about his age, and now everything's falling apart, and I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So I met this guy earlier this year, and we really hit it off. He's an incredibly handsome, intelligent, emotionally open, and sweet guy originally from Turkey. I really love spending time with him. He and I can talk for hours about anything. He's so empathetic and insightful, and I've not dated someone I had this kind of ease with in a long time. In fact, I liked him so much that I started on my own to learn Turkish just so we'd have an additional way to communicate. I have an ear for languages and ended up really taking a shine to it. After I'd picked up some basic grammar and vocabulary, I told him I was learning it, and he was overjoyed. It was like a scene out of a bad romance movie. He kept pointing to things at brunch and making me say them in Turkish. He said that he has not met any Americans who would bother to learn his language, and he seemed genuinely moved by this. And I think this brought our relationship to a new level. I started to think this guy might be that elusive long-term relationship that I've always wanted, but could never usually sustain past a year. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and I came across his Twitter. He had briefly been a writer in Turkey, and I was curious to see if I could find some of his articles. He didn't tweet much, and it was all in Turkish, but I noticed a photo of himself that he posted from about 5 years ago, because in it he had a gray beard, and I'd only known him as having a black beard, and I had learned enough Turkish by then to be able to read the caption on hand. It said the following: "I'm proud to be 50 years old today. For reference, I'm 40 years old and he's 44, or at least I thought. But now with this new information, I'm finding out that he's actually 55 years old. Now, the mid-50s is probably the ceiling of my age range for dating, but a 55-year-old would not be out of the question. I mean, honestly, once you're both past the age of 30, a lot of that just doesn't matter anymore." He never said directly that he was 44 years old, but that was what was on his Tinder profile. I do remember thinking he looked on the older side, but I didn't think much of it. I mentioned to a few friends what I had found out, and a lot of them thought it was a major red flag. Not that he was older, but that he had lied on his profile. They said that him dyeing his beard meant he was intentionally trying to deceive me. At first, I didn't think it was that bad, and thought maybe he was just a little delicate about how he's aging. Maybe he's having like a midlife crisis or something like that. I gave him some openings to reveal his true age, but he always avoided the subject, and never gave any evidence of when he was born. It was the first time I felt like I really couldn't talk to him directly about something. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was really uncomfortable about the lie. We were walking together 2 weeks ago, and I looked at his black beard and suddenly blurted out, "You know, you don't have to dye your beard." He looked at me confused and asked what I was talking about. I told him that I knew his beard was really gray and that he did indeed dye it, but I also explained that he didn't have to do that. He said to me, "I don't dye my beard," and it was the first time I knew he lied to me straight to my face. So I told him that I saw his tweet and I knew that he dyed his beard, and that I knew he wasn't in his 40s, but he was in fact in his 50s. But then right away, I told him that it didn't matter to me. I told him that it would be better just to be honest, because what we have is really special. And here's where I really think I messed up, I think. I decided to switch into the Turkish language, and this is something that we sometimes do. I meant to say that I don't care that you're older, but as I played it back in my head, what I really said was that I don't care that you're old. We walked for a bit in silence, and I asked him what he was thinking, but he didn't say much. When we got to the subway station, he said that he had to go home and do some work, so he gave me a kiss and then he left, and we haven't hung out since. We've texted a little bit, but his responses are short, and they are just mostly small talk. He is never free to get together, and I worry that the relationship is over. I mean, what can I do here? Is his lie a bigger red flag than I think it is? And should I let this just end the relationship altogether? Or if not, what should I do to try and fix this? Because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. In my opinion, someone lying about their age is a big red flag. I have to agree with your friends. That to me is really not okay, and that is an awful thing to do to somebody. Like, if you want to try and make yourself look younger by dyeing your beard, then just go for it. Who cares? Honestly, nobody actually cares if you do that, because literally everybody does it. It's not that big of a deal, and it's really okay. But for him to straight up lie about his age on the dating profile and basically be like, yeah, I'm 44 years old, that in my opinion is really sketchy, because in reality, he's actually like 55 years old. That's a big age difference, and to be deceived like that is really not okay. So yeah, I think the way he's acting is really weird, and if this relationship is over, trust me, this has everything to do with him and absolutely nothing to do with you. Am I the jerk for being late to pick up my boyfriend's mother at the airport? Here's what happened. So my boyfriend's mother went to see her relatives on the other side of the country. Her son couldn't pick her up from the airport due to work, so he asked me if I could, and I said yes. She came in an early flight and would arrive at around 9 o'clock in the morning. It takes me about 30 minutes to get to the airport from my place, so I plan to leave at 8:30 to get there just in time. My boyfriend sent me gas and parking money and warned me that his mother, while being a sweet old lady, does not like to wait and will leave at the very first moment if she doesn't see anyone. He advised to be at the airport 1 hour before. I found that ludicrous and decided to stick to my plan because I wasn't thrilled about the idea of waiting at the airport. And this is right about when the drama kicks in. First, I couldn't get out of my parking space because I was boxed in. That took about 5 minutes from my time. There was traffic along the highway due to a rollover, which is another extra 15 minutes. And finally, my boyfriend's mother's plane arrived 20 minutes early. I mean, come on, this is the perfect storm. I arrived at the airport at 9:20, but by that time, my boyfriend's mother had just taken a taxi and gone home. I called her to apologize, but I only said not to worry about it because I had better things to do. But here's the thing, I didn't. I just didn't listen to my boyfriend's advice. My boyfriend is now angry with me because his mother paid $75 for a taxi. I offered to pay her back, but he said no because it wasn't about the fare, but rather it was about his mother being old and he just wanted someone who he could trust to help her out. Now, in my opinion, I don't think the situation deserves this much drama. I mean, it was just 20 minutes and the old lady couldn't have waited just a little bit. So am I the jerk here? What should I do? Okay, so for me personally, I really can't see both sides of this, but I have to take your boyfriend's side of things. His mom doesn't like to wait, so he tried to be like, hey, you need to be on time, if not a little bit early, because she will not put up with waiting for a second. Like, he did tell you that straight up, and instead of listening to his advice, you decided, oh, I'm just gonna be there whenever I get there. I'm gonna follow my plan and not do anything else. And like, seriously, this is kind of your own fault if you think about it. Who leaves to go to the airport with just barely enough time to get there without accounting for any inevitable traffic or any other kind of delay? Like, for me personally, I always show up early to the airport. In today's day and age, you can't just show up at the last second and expect to catch your flight or even pick someone up on time. So yes, I do think you're the jerk here. I think you should have been more considerate of his mom, and I don't blame your boyfriend for being upset for you being late. My entitled mother has invited herself on my vacation, demanding that she will be traveling with me as I travel to Japan to race in the Tokyo Marathon. But I'm now so completely stressed out over the way she's acting, and I'm now regretting even telling her about this marathon in the first place. And at this point, I seriously now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So let me start off by saying that I've had an awful year so far. I've had scarlet fever, a major car accident, and I'm going through a divorce. So when I was selected for a place in the Tokyo Marathon next year, I honestly couldn't believe my luck, and I really feel so warm just thinking about it. So I then text my mother the good news, explaining that I got a place in the Tokyo Marathon, and immediately she started planning a trip without telling me. I spoke to her on the phone a few days later, and she spoke about hotels and flights that she had found, and I said, no worry, I'll arrange it all. I'm going to be very hotel specific the days before and the night after the marathon. After that, I'm going to travel to other regions. She went silent on the phone. She said to me, but I don't want to do that. And I was honestly so confused when she said that. I asked her what she meant, and she explained how she wanted to stay in one place and not move around again, and I was so confused. I was like, what are you talking about? She then explained how she thought she would come along. I've spent the past few days explaining my initial itinerary to her, to which she just replies that she doesn't like it. I've done my best to gently convince her that I don't think this trip is for her. I explained that she hates walking, she's a picky eater, she is easily frustrated, she gets annoyed and anxious in crowds, but not just that. I honestly can't imagine leaving her alone during marathon day, which starts and ends in different parts of the city. I haven't been able to arrange anything because she is convinced that she's coming along. But here's the thing, I know that she won't like it. She has never expressed an interest in Japan and has even complained about Asian people, which is really an awful thing to do. I just do not want the responsibility of dealing with her outbursts and helping her regulate her emotions. I suggested we take a vacation together to Spain in the summer, and she did seem pleased with that option, but she is still very adamant that she is coming with me. It's actually making me so stressed that I don't want to go anymore, and I kind of wish that I never even told her. I don't know how to let her down gently but firmly without her being upset with me. What should I do? Honestly, you just need to be upfront with her. You need to tell her straight up, you're not coming with me on this trip. This trip is my thing, it's my hobby, and I don't want to babysit you in Tokyo. Something along those lines, but still being very firm and upfront would probably be very good for your mother to hear. She clearly doesn't care about any problems that are going to arise. She sounds like a very emotionally unstable person. She's going to be really frustrated easily. She's not going to want to eat any of the food there, and this is going to be a burden on you and your special event. Like seriously, think about it. You got selected to be in the Tokyo Marathon. That doesn't just happen. I'm willing to assume that you worked very hard just to snag that spot. But here comes your mother trying to ruin this chance for you. She's basically trying to take this opportunity away from you and in a roundabout way ruin your entire trip. And I don't think she means to do that. It kind of seems like her nature and the way she acts is just gonna spoil the mood. And if I was in your shoes, I would not want that in the slightest. I would want to be focused on the marathon and then have time to decompress and really enjoy my time in Japan. Like, I don't even know your mom, and I definitely would not want to travel with her. I mean, I would give her maybe 8 hours on the plane, and then I would probably expect to hear her starting to complain about literally everything. She's tired, she doesn't feel good, she doesn't want to do this or that, and you've got the right idea. Trust me, I completely understand where you're coming from. If you go to Japan, you need to be ready to follow their customs, and one of those is that you walk around pretty much everywhere. I know friends that I've talked to have basically said that you're on foot like most of the time, and if she doesn't like walking around, she's going to be miserable in Japan. And that's literally just going to be a burden on you specifically, because you're going to have to be there to babysit her the entire time. And I don't know about you, but if I'm going on a special trip overseas to another country, the last thing I want to do is try and babysit someone who very clearly should not be there. So if I was in your shoes, I would be completely upfront. There's no way I would want her to come along with me, because that is honestly going to be an unfair burden on you. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to AmITheJerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. My husband freaks out on me over the smallest things possible, getting angry and pouty for hours on end, while also refusing to talk to me in a rational manner. And after this most recent event, I'm honestly at my breaking point, and now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So for starters, my husband and I went out to dinner, and we were having a lovely time. We didn't have our phones out, we had a lovely conversation there and on the way home, but when we got home, I accidentally dropped his leftovers. He was driving, so I had my purse and his box in my hands, and I was trying to place it on the porch just to try and reorganize myself, and the box fell onto the steps. But only a little bit of food fell out, so I thought that it was fine. But he flipped out. He said to me, "Why did you do that?" And he was pretending like accidents don't exist. I apologized profusely, and I said to him, "Only a little bit fell out. You only lost a little bit. It really is okay. I'll put it back in the fridge." But he says to me, "No, it all fell out. It's all ruined." But I doubled down. I said to him again, "No, just this little bit hit the ground. That's on the steps right now, as well as this part sticking out right here." The food in question was chili, so I start to brush off the chili sticking out with my hand to just knock it off the container, but he just said, "Just throw it out." And even though I tried to say that it was fine, he then started screaming, "Throw it out. I'm not gonna eat it. It's my money. I can do whatever I want." Now, dear listener, for the record, it was my money. I paid for dinner tonight, and I'm currently unemployed. When he gets mad like this, he stays mad for hours, and I even tried to calm him down. I apologized, but he just said, "Apologies don't matter." I then asked him what I can do to make things better, but he just said that he wants me to leave him alone. So I avoided him for hours. I watered my plants, I worked on homework, and just now he was going to bed, and it was 5 hours later. He then says to me, "I'm hungry and I have nothing to eat." So I told him that he can eat my leftovers from earlier, but he said to me, "I don't want your leftovers." So I then offered to go to a restaurant and get some more chili. I mean, I was thinking about doing that anyways. But he just said to me, I open up tomorrow, I can't wait for you. And I tried one last time to try and come up with some kind of solution. I said to him, look, I can go to the corner store to get some chips and a frozen dinner. But he wasn't having it. He just said to me, no, I'll just go to bed hungry. At this point, I've learned not to fight with him when he gets mad, because whenever I criticize his actions, he blames me for spinning the blame back onto him, as well as trying to make it his fault. I grew up in a family where no one ever apologized, and I hated it. He and I used to fight a lot in the beginning, and I learned quickly that I also had a problem with apologizing. I learned that you can't apologize for hurting someone's feelings or reacting how you did. Apologizing isn't reserved for whoever is wrong in that situation, and I really think I got better. But sometimes I think maybe I went to the other extreme, because I'll apologize and apologize again, and nothing ever makes it better. I will grovel and beg for him to forgive me, but he gets so pouty and angry, and I just get frustrated. Like, it has been hours. Usually I let him stew overnight, he goes to work angry, and it will take a full 24 hours for him to apologize for how he reacted. But when I do something wrong, I don't get to mull it over for an entire day, because he'll be all pouty that I got angry with him, and again I have to grovel and beg for him to forgive me because I hurt his feelings. But I was frustrated, so I said to him, you know what, you are so stubborn. I told you that not all the chili fell out. You told me to throw it away, but if you had just let me put it in the fridge, you would have had something to eat. He then says to me, great, so it's my fault again. Honestly, everything after that was such a blur. I think I said a few more sentences and walked away. I think I tried to say that it's no one's fault, that it was just an accident, but what I do remember is that he said something about not wanting to hear excuses. So I said to him, excuses? It was just an accident. Honestly, right now I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say anymore, but I'm honestly so tired of this cycle. He just wandered into the kitchen, and I hear him sniffing, which means it's time for me to beg and grovel for forgiveness because I hurt his feelings. I don't know how to prevent these outbursts. I mean, honestly, what do I do? How do I deal with this? His love language is physical touch, but he doesn't want to be touched when he's mad. Then he gets pouty, and sometimes he wants a hug. Sometimes, though, he doesn't. I went in to ask him if he wanted me to get something for him to eat, and he just said, I just want to not be alive. And I said to him, I'm sorry for dropping your chili. I'm sorry that you're hungry. I don't know what to do to make it better, but I'm tired of going through this cycle of you getting angry for hours, me then avoiding you for hours, and then I say something that upsets you, and then you just get pouty. I don't know what else to do. He then said to me, you're talking about cycles, just get out of my face. And he's all curled up in his blankets too, by the way. I feel like I'm always pushing my feelings aside to cater to his. And when I've said that to him before, he responds by saying, great, you're putting it back on me and it's my fault again. Everything is always my fault. I am so tired. Literally, I'm so exhausted. I want to go to bed, but he wants me to avoid him, and if I go in there, he'll leave bed to sleep on the recliner and then complain about how he didn't get a good night's sleep and how he is going to have an awful day. We always do this song and dance. Like a few years ago, we would just yell at each other and keep fighting, and it was always as we were falling asleep. So I'd be in bed trying to fall asleep, but we couldn't sleep. Not until we talked through it. Because, you know, you're not supposed to go to bed mad, but then we'll be awake until 2 in the morning. I have begged for him to go to therapy. I mean, I go to therapy. I've been in therapy. And I thought he was getting close to going after his father passed away, but that didn't happen. I used to write him emails when he was mad so he could read my apologies, but he never even did that. I used to talk to my mom about it, and then he'd get mad at me for talking to my mom about us. He thinks that it should be private, but therapy apparently isn't private enough because a therapist is a stranger. I really don't think there's anything left to do on my end. I feel like I've exhausted all avenues, so I'm honestly looking for advice. What can I improve on? Should I just convince him to go to therapy? Look, I love him a lot. This is the only thing that drives me crazy. This is where we're the most dysfunctional, and it doesn't happen a lot, but when it does, it's over spilled chili. Today was my breaking point. I have to get people involved because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Okay, first and foremost, your husband sounds like a basket case. He does not sound like a good person in the slightest. He is straight up guilt tripping you and trying to make it seem like all of his problems and the way he's reacting to things is somehow your fault. Mind you, this is a 31-year-old man. He absolutely should be in more control of his emotions. This man freaked out over spilled chili. Like, dude, are you kidding me right now? Chili is not that important. Like, seriously, why would you get that upset at your wife for dropping it? Is it really that big of a deal to treat her like garbage and start blowing up on her? I mean, talk about the overreaction of the century. And also, this guy's trying to play this guilt-tripping pity party garbage privilege by basically pushing all this guilt on you and forcing you to grovel and beg as if you did anything wrong. But honestly, throughout this entire thing, I really have not seen anything that you've done that would be considered wrong. You have been forced to skate around this guy's weird emotions, as well as his outbursts that basically make him look like a toddler. Like seriously, he's curled up in his blankets, pouting and super angry that you hurt his feelings. Meanwhile, he's screaming at you over spilled chili. Like this guy's a massive hypocrite. But you know what? When it really comes down to it, I'm not sure if there really is anything you can do to try and make him change his ways or treat you better. Like his behavior is so irrational. He's acting like a manipulative bully while also simultaneously pretending to be a toddler. I can only imagine living in that kind of situation. It has to be exhausting. Every single day of your life, you're walking on eggshells, constantly apologizing while also being mentally messed with by a man who can't control his emotions. So hopefully some kind of solution comes together, because the way you've been treated by your husband is so inappropriate, and you absolutely do not deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for not giving a family engagement ring to my stepsister, who ended up getting engaged before I did? Here's what happened. So for starters, when my dad proposed to my mom, my paternal grandparents, also known as my dad's parents, gave him a ring from their family to propose to mom with. My grandparents adored my mom and saw her as a daughter, especially since they had 4 boys, and they wanted to welcome her into the family with the ring. She absolutely treasured it, and before she passed away, she and they had discussed my grandparents keeping it safe for me. After my mom passed away, my dad remarried. His second wife was upset that she wasn't offered the ring like my mom was. My grandparents explained it was being kept safe for me, as the last owner had wanted her only child, also known as me, to have it when she was ready. My dad's wife came into the marriage with a daughter, just like dad had done with me. I was 9 and she was 7, but fast forward to present day, and I am 22 years old and she is 20. My stepsister got engaged a few weeks ago. Her boyfriend proposed without a ring because he wanted her to pick one out, so she decided to ask my dad if she could have the family engagement ring. He asked my grandparents and they flat out said no. His wife told my grandparents that it might not be me, but the ring would still be going to their granddaughter, but they said it was not going to the granddaughter it was intended for, and that my stepsister was not my mom's daughter, therefore she would not be entitled to it, and my mom would have hated to see it go to my stepsister. When speaking to my grandparents failed, my dad and his wife came to me. My stepsister was upset that they didn't overrule what my mom wanted. She has some abandonment issues, all because her dad abandoned her. Neither side of her biological family want her, and my grandparents and uncles are the only extended family she ever had, but she always felt like they favored me because of how much they love my mom, and how often they spoke about her and about us, namely my mom and I. Them turning her down really got her down, so my dad and his wife wanted me to make it up to her and wanted me to take the ring and then give it to her. My dad said it would mean so much to my stepsister, and while it would mean I don't get that ring, I could still get another ring, and it would make another family member very happy. His wife said they both had lived in my mom's shadow from day one, and this could be a time where they are not treated as secondary to my mom. She said her daughter always adored me and never saw me as a stepsister, and it hurt her that I never saw her as a sister. She said I could do this and make her feel loved like she deserves. I did end up refusing to give my stepsister the ring, and my dad and his wife told me that I was being selfish. So I've gotta know, am I the jerk in this situation for not giving a family engagement ring to my stepsister who got engaged before me? What should I do? I really do not think that you're the jerk here. Like, why is the stepmom and the stepsister so invested in getting that ring? Like, wouldn't they want the ring to somehow be connected to you? I mean, this doesn't even belong to either of them. It's almost like they're seeing this as some kind of opportunity to try and get ahead and be like, oh wow, we're not second-class citizens anymore. Which, by the way, I'm very hard-pressed to even believe that for a second. This is probably one of those situations where they think this is the truth in their head, but in reality, no one's ever treated them that way, and their own insecurities are being projected on everybody else. I'm also willing to bet that nobody's been rude to them in any kind of way. It probably got to them that everybody really adored this original poster's mother, and they really speak highly of her and have tried to keep her memory alive. And honestly, if I was a grandparent in this situation, I probably would do the same thing. Like, why wouldn't I try and keep their memory alive? And also, why would I not try and keep the ring and give it to the actual daughter who's supposed to get it? Like, in my opinion, the original poster made the correct decision. Keep the ring for yourself and let your stepsister and your stepmom start a new tradition. Why should you have to give up yours just because they're jealous? And that's honestly all this seems like. It seems like it's just a bunch of sour grapes trying to stomp on something your mother wanted to give you. So no, I don't think you're the jerk at all. I think you did the right thing by turning them down, and honestly, if they have a problem with that, that is literally their problem and not yours. My 11 roommates went on a weekend vacation without me, and now I seriously don't know what to do. So basically, up to a month ago, I was living with my parents for undergraduate studies at a college near my home. Because of my lack of a social life that was kind of making me feel low, I decided to move to the capital of my country for graduate studies. I found online a room that was for rent, and it was near the college with 11 other roommates. There were 3 girls and 8 boys. Even if it was really expensive, I instantly chose this one, because in my head, it would be a great introduction to this new city, especially with all of these new people. Well, long story short, we did get along well, but the thing is that they've known each other for years, because they all went to high school together, and that includes literally everybody in the house. So there wasn't this process of getting to know everyone in like a week or even a day. They were like, oh, you're the new guy, and then they just went about with their stuff. Sometimes I eat with them, and sometimes I grab lunch outside. They've been using this game console in the living room for like 3 years, and the console in question is the Wii. So I brought my Nintendo Switch and bought a couple of multiplayer games to enjoy together, even though I usually mostly play single-player games. They party most of the nights in the apartment and bring other people, and honestly, it doesn't bother me because I have sound reduction headphones on, so I hear almost nothing. I partied a bit, it was kind of cool, but I told them that I won't be able to do that every day because, well, I need to focus on my schooling, and I like to have private, not drunk times as well. Last week, when a bunch of us were in the living room, they were talking about going on a weekend at a house that they would rent. It was mostly a discussion between them, and I just kind of listened, and one guy asked me if I wanted to join. I said, yeah, of course, that would be great. Well, the week goes by, and they talk about it sometimes, but this Friday, my last class finished at 4 p.m., and then when I went back to the apartment, nobody was there. I thought they must still have classes or something like that, so I decided that I'll use this remaining time to see if I didn't forget anything in my suitcase that I packed for the weekend. The hours go by, and then I saw text messages and pictures in the group chat being sent, which were mostly about them at the house taking selfies. I sat for a couple of minutes on my bed. Then I muted the notifications of the group chat, I unpacked my stuff, and I just went to bed. I spent the weekend doing my stuff, walking in the park nearby and studying for a little bit. I think they will be back today at midnight, but I'm really not sure about how to react to this. It's not like I'm deeply heartbroken or anything like that. It has been only 3 weeks since college started. They're not my best friends or anything like that, but I do feel a bit sad. I mean, should I say something like, hey, how was your weekend you asked me to join in on? But in the end, you just left without me and barely even noticed it. I honestly just need to write this somewhere because at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. Personally, I would not get bent out of shape over this. You said it yourself. You have only known these people for what, 3 weeks? Like, these people have known each other for a very long time. You literally are the odd man out. You don't know the group dynamics very well. You don't know them very well. I mean, sure, they forgot you, but also you weren't very proactive about confirming any plans. Like, why wouldn't you communicate more and be like, hey, just wanted to check in. Where is this place that we're going to over the weekend? And then you can like snag the details and be there for when it happens. I don't know, it kind of seems like you had one conversation with them and then you didn't follow up about it at all for the rest of the week. And sure, don't get me wrong, what they did is awful and they really did leave you behind, but in my opinion, you were way too passive about this. You just let it slip by and you didn't even do anything about it leading up to the event. So truly, the next time you want to be involved in something, I think you need to be more proactive, because honestly, people are not going to carry you along if you don't make the effort yourself. But overall, I'm really sorry that this happened, and hopefully you can find some better friends in the future. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We love and appreciate you so much. Subscribe to Am I the Jerk if you haven't already, and click the bell to turn on notifications. Leave a comment down below. What'd you think? What are some things you'd love to see on the channel? We would love your feedback, and we honestly would love to hear from you. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.